Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Deku was the Omnitrix's new hero part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see part 2, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story Rabitsu from Wattpad. So let's start the video. The night sky was appealing over the city of 𝙎𝙪𝙢𝙧𝙮 tonight. The city bustling with life as its citizens either were going home or going out with their companions, heroes patrolling the blocks for villains, occasionally greeting the citizens and taking pictures with them. It was as if all was right in the world. People were on their phones watching footage of the most recent villain attack and admiring their heroes in action. The most common talk of the night were that of Kamui Woods, Mount Lady, and of course the #1 hero, All Might. Hey, look at this! A schoolgirl exclaimed, holding her phone out to her friends, who looked in curiosity. Dr. Onimo was caught just now trying to rob a bank a few miles from here. This guy's super gross. His quirk is to mutate animals and change them into monsters, isn't it? The girl's friend asked. If I were a hero, I wouldn't go anywhere near him, not even if I had a 6-foot pole to beat him with. Just thinking about even having to cuff him gives me hives. Who stopped him this time? The third friend asked. Looks like All Might again. Kinda almost seems like that's the only hero the news ever reports on nowadays. What do you expect? The guy's the #1 hero in the world. Though, I don't think Onimo was worth All Might's time. Didn't he get caught a few months ago by Endeavor? Yeah, but only because he kept crying about how Endeavor was burning his animals. My pets, oh my precious creations. Can you even call them animals? If you stare long enough, they almost look like aliens, don't they? Come on, there's no way aliens exist. Have you been watching Star Wars again? The three girls laugh at the comment and continue to walk towards the train station. What they don't realize is aliens that truly do exist, that they are not alone in the universe. The proof that some may ask for such a claim. Simply look into the night sky of 𝙎𝙪𝙢𝙧𝙮 City. There, a strange red creature had just entered Earth's atmosphere and flew over the ocean, creating a small splitting double wave as it did. Soon, it stops and hovers over the glowing city. So, this is 𝙎𝙪𝙢𝙧𝙮 Sensei's home world, and the home world of the human race, the strange creature said to itself as it observed the city. A lot brighter than I thought it would be, but so far, nothing impressive. The tech they're using when compared to that of the rest of the galaxy is almost laughable. But considering they haven't gone extinct yet, they have to be doing something right, I suppose. Guess I'll go down and take a look. The creature then flew down and landed on a beach piled with trash. A bright green flash lights up the area momentarily as it died, revealing a young adult in a black and green short-sleeved hoodie with gray hair, black eyes and 2 scars on his face. A bright green flash lights up the area momentarily as it died, revealing a young adult in a black and green short-sleeved hoodie with gray hair, black eyes and 2 scars on his face. 10 Not my image, now that the blending in part won't be a problem anymore, the young man said as he turned to face the city, flipping his hoodie down. Time to see what Earth has in store for Rin 10,000. Rin runs up the stairs and immediately bumps into a skeletal man wearing a plain t-shirt and green jeans. They both fall down onto their backs. Rin immediately gets up and offers the man his hand. Sorry about that, I'm kind of new to the area. Rin said playfully. Sorry about that, I'm kind of new to the area. Rin said playfully, it's quite alright, young man. You really shouldn't be out this late, though. Don't you have school or a college lecture in the morning? The man lectured as he grabbed Ren's hand and stood. I don't really know what that is, but it's safe to assume that I don't. Rin replied confusingly. Alright then. Say, you wouldn't happen to know the time, do you? My phone died a couple of minutes ago, so I sort of lost track of it. The old man asked. Your guess is as good as mine, I just got here a few minutes ago. Rin replied. Just got here. But, there's nowhere else to enter from. The man thought to himself. But, you have a watch, don't you? Huh. The man points to Ren's wrist. Oh that. It doesn't exactly tell the time. Ren replied nervously. A bit ironic, isn't it? To wear a watch that doesn't tell time. The man asked. Tell me about it. Well, I'll be heading out now. See ya later, old-timer. Rin said, running off. Suddenly, Rin stops dead in his tracks and turns to the man again. Hey, wait, I almost forgot. He called out. The skeletal man turns to face him. Your name? I never got your name. Rin yelled out. You can just call me 𝙎𝙪𝙢𝙧𝙮. The man yelled out. Nice meeting ya, 𝙎𝙪𝙢𝙧𝙮. I'm Rin. Catch you later. Rin said as he began running afterward. 𝙎𝙪𝙢𝙧 watches Rin take off with a bit of curiosity. Rin, huh? After a few minutes of confused walking, Rin finally made it to the center of Hosu, where it was still full of life. Food stands were still open as people line up to get a taste. Rin stared in awe of just how many people there were and the amazing smells that surrounded him. Wow, from up top this place didn't seem like much. But now that I'm down and about, Rin said as suddenly he hears a commotion from a ramen noodle stand. There were 3 men ganging up on the owner, one of them having him by the collar as he shouts. Heard you snitched to the police about what happened the other day? One of the thugs yelled. No. The police and heroes just came by for questioning and I just told them what I saw. That was it, I swear. The owner of the stand yelled. Well, because of that flapping mouth of yours, one of our buddies ended up getting put in the slammer. The second thug yelled as he knocked over the pot of broth. Please stop. I didn't do anything. Please don't destroy my stand. Oh, don't worry, once we're through with you, you won't be doing much of anything anymore. The first thug said as he activated his quirk. His hand began to glow a bright yellow and red as he slammed down on the counter. The moment he did, the counter caught on fire and his hand melted right through it. Please, I beg you. The owner yelled out in fear. Hey! Rin called out to the thugs. All 3 of them looked behind him to see Rin staring at them. Leave him alone. Does it seriously take 3 muscle heads to threaten 1 person? Rin yelled. The first thug lets go of the owner and tosses him to the third thug. Make sure he don't go nowhere. I'm about to teach this kid some manners, the first thug said as he walked towards Ren. You really should shut that mouth of yours, kid. You don't want a piece of any of us. Oh yeah. Ren replied as he took a step closer to the thug and looked at him in the eye. And what if I do want a piece? You gonna cut me one? There is a long stare between the 2 figures, with Ren grinning the entire time. The civilians witnessing this remain silent while some run off to find the authorities. Finally, the thug chuckles. Look, kid, I'm a nice guy, beating up youngsters ain't really my forte. So how about this? I let you walk away, you pretend you never saw this, and I don't smash your goddamn teeth in. How's that for a piece of this? The thug asked. Rin takes a moment of silence, then finally, he answers. You know what, on second thought, you're right. I don't want a piece, Ren replied. I want the whole dotn pie. The thug looked at Ren, whose eyes and composure were brimming with confidence. The thug takes a huge right swing with his arm glowing red and yellow. Ren held up his right arm, about to slam down on his watch when a long wooden branch from behind him extends past and wraps up the thug. That's enough, both of you. A man behind Ren says. Have some respect for the people around you. Oh, it's Kamui Woods. The second thug yelled, oh, it's Kamui Woods. The second thug yelled. Screw this noise, I'm outta here. The third thug yelled as he tried to run with his comrade. Both of the thugs, however, run right into another hero, who easily restrains them both. CRP, even Death Arms is here. The thugs yelled. CRP, even Death Arms is here. The thugs yelled in a rush, fellas. Death Arms asked, don't worry, you'll have plenty of time soon with where you're going. Death Arms then looks at Kamui Woods. All clear her dash, Death Arms said as he noticed the first thug glowing red. Kamui. The bindings Kamui had on the thug then begin to light on fire. The thug then bursts out of the bindings of Kamui Woods and charges at him. I ain't going back to the slammer, you hear me? The thug yelled. See, I have to do something. Ren thought to himself as he prepared to slam down on his watch yet again. Just before he could, however, a powerful torrent of water strikes the thug, cooling him down while pushing him back. How about we all just cool down? The man in the fire jacket said. Kamui looks behind him to see another hero. Backdraft. Kamui yelled. Once the torrent of water stops, the thug's skin then begins to harden, rendering him immobile. Once the torrent of water stops, the thug's skin then begins to harden, rendering him immobile. He struggles furiously against his newly created obsidian straitjacket. Diamenit, diamenit, diamenit. The thug yelled in anger. Kamui takes a breath and gives a thumbs up to Backdraft. Thanks, you really saved me there. Kamui said to Backdraft. Backdraft rubs the back of his head embarrassingly. Don't worry about it, we're fellow pros, right? Backdraft replied. Kamui, if you don't mind. Death Arms said to Kamui as he held up the other two thugs. Kamui then binds them up with his quirk. Rin looked at the heroes in both confusion and in surprise. Who are these guys? Are they heroes or something? Why are there 3 of them? Are they a team or something? Rin thought to himself. Death Arms then looks in Ren's direction, their gazes meet. You know, I got half a mind to take you into custody as well, kid. Death Arms said to Rin. For what? What did I do? Rin replied. Death Arms approaches Ren, who barely flinches at his yelling. From the looks of things, you were the one instigating the fight. What's worse, you were even about to start a physical fight in a public space. Do you have any idea what you were doing? People could have gotten seriously hurt. Death Arms yelled. Are you kidding me? I didn't do anything. They were harassing this guy and no one else was around at the time. What? I was just supposed to sit around and let them wreck this guy's shop. Rin yelled back. He's telling the truth, Death Arms, sir, the owner said as he stood up. They were wrecking my stand and harassing me because I gave an eyewitness statement against one of their friends a couple of days ago. Had it not been for this young man, the damage to my shop would have been much greater. Death Arms looks at the owner with a look of shock on his face, then he looks back at Ren. Even if they did try anything, I could have handled myself. Ren added. Death Arms grunts in frustration and leaves. Don't do nothing like that again, you hear me, brat? Death Arms yelled out. What in but? Ren thought to himself as he looked at the 3 heroes leaving with the thugs. Thank you, young man, for helping me, the owner said to Ren. Ren turns to face the owner. Don't worry about it. Besides, those guys handled most of it, not me. Ren replied. Nonsense, had you not stalled them long enough for the pros to arrive, my shop would have been as good as dust. So once again, thank you, young man, for your courage, thank you. The owner said as he shook Ren's hands up and down. Please, let me repay you with a bowl of my famous ramen. The owner walks back behind his stand and grabs another pot. Ramen? What's that? Ren asked. A Japanese delicacy. Please, it's on the house. The owner said excitedly. Ren simply shrugged and sat down at the counter, watching the man prepare him a bowl of ramen. Unfortunately, they knocked over my last good pot of broth. So I'll have to reheat a cold batch. No worries, take your time. As Ren watches the owner prepare the ingredients, he thinks over about what Death Arms said to him. From the looks of things, you were the one instigating the fight. What's worse, you were even about to start a physical fight in a public space. Do you have any idea what you were doing? People could have gotten seriously hurt. Hey, what do I call you? Ren asked. You can just call me Chef. The owner said. Alright then. What is it? Those 3 guys back then, were they heroes or something? The owner stops in his tracks and looks over his shoulder at Ren with a curious look. Chef waits for Ren to retract his question, hoping it was just a joke in poor taste. Ren continues to stare with a blank look. You're not joking, are you? They're the pro heroes Death Arms, Kamui Woods, and Backdraft. They're actually pretty famous around this area, Kamui Woods especially. He's in the top 10 list of pro heroes in Japan. The owner begins to slice a piece of meat, egg, and squid as he explained. I'm more surprised you haven't heard of them before. It must be nice to have a quirk that you can use to help people. Quirks? What do you mean quirks? Ren asked curiously. You saw Kamui wrap up those thugs and Backdraft cool down that one guy, didn't you? That's their quirks. Some amazing ones, I'd say. So quirks are basically just like their abilities. Like if I can shoot blasts from my hand, that would be my quirk. I suppose, yeah. But that's if you can shoot blasts from your hand. So that tree guy had a wood quirk and that yellow jacket guy had like a water quirk. More or less. Huh, it looks like humans managed to evolve to the point where they get special abilities. I don't remember Sensei ever mentioning that part about Earth. I wonder, hey chef, does everyone have a quirk? Rin asked. Not exactly, Chef said as he shakes the water off of the noodles. Almost everyone in the world has one these days, some small, some big, but it's almost safe to say that the entire world is filled with quirks. Almost. There are some people who are quirkless, as in people who don't have a quirk at all, despite both of their parents possibly having quirks. Chef pours the broth into the bowl of noodles, all while carefully adding in the meat, egg, and squid. I hear that people who are quirkless have harder lives. Because these days, being quirkless is more or less treated as a bad thing. It's almost like a death sentence. They're often looked down upon in society and treated as a lesser being. It's heartbreaking to witness honestly. Rin listens silently to Chef's words, letting it all sink in as he thinks over what he just heard. He puts his head down and reminisces about his childhood. An image of a child crying in the mirror flashes in his mind, only for a split second. I guess no matter where you are in the universe, if you're different, you'll be treated like so. Huh, Rin whispered to himself. Say, young man, where are you from exactly? Chef asked. Why do you ask? Rin replied. Well, you're asking all these questions about the pro heroes' quirks. It's almost as if you've never seen someone with a quirk before. I was just curious is all. Where I'm from, Rin trailed off. Never thought humans could have abilities like that, Ren whispered to himself. Ren then looks up to Chef who was putting on the garnishes of the ramen. Do you have a quirk, Chef? Ren asked. Chef pauses for a moment, then he smiles. Quirkless or not, it doesn't matter to me in the slightest. I won't let something as small as that stop me from doing what makes me happy the most. Chef replied as he put the bowl of ramen in front of Ren. Enjoy. Ren looks at the bowl of ramen with awe and anticipations. He took one whiff of the aroma emanating from the bowl and smiled. How do I, Ren asked. Chef smiled and grabbed a pair of disposable chopsticks for Ren. Break them apart. Ren does as he says and breaks the two chopsticks apart. He picks up a heaping strand of noodles and blows on it to cool it down. As he took his first ever bite of ramen, the flavors of the broth and the softness of the noodles could only trigger him to say a single word, time skip. About a week after Rin 10,000's arrival, school, a place of learning, connections, careers, the full youth experience, last but not least, final exams. But for one student, simply staying invisible was more than enough for him at the time. Izuku Midoriya, better known as Deku, the quirkless kid with no friends. At least, that's what his classmates thought of him. Nevertheless, the green-haired boy was at his desk writing down the details of the heroes that he had witnessed in a villain attack earlier today. He had hoped that writing down these notes would help him become a hero in the near future. Even if it was a long shot, Izuku believed that he could still be a hero. Kamui Woods was so awesome today, taking on that giant villain by himself without hesitation. The way he used his quirk to dodge the villain's attacks and get a height advantage was perfect. Mount Lady's quirk was great too. Izuku thought to himself. Wish I got to see more of it though. It was nearing the end of the semester as his homeroom teacher explained the significance of these future careers sheet before tossing them into the air, yelling that there was no point in passing them out as all of them wanted to become heroes, followed by everyone in the class using their quirks. This commotion then escalated when a spiky blonde-haired student began boasting about how he was going to enter the top hero school in the nation. Katsuki Bakugo, the class's egomaniac and ball of pride, self-proclaimed strongest in the world and future #1 hero. Although the class was upset with Katsuki's words, Izuku on the other hand, seeing his one and only childhood friend act like this, wanted nothing more than to not be seen or singled out, which proved futile with only one sentence from his teacher. Come to think of it, Midoriya, didn't you want to go to you as well? And just like that, the invisible cloak Izuku had been trying to hide under began to disappear as the gazes and laughter from his classmates melted all that away. He could deal with the stares, it was just one person he feared the most. Boom. A hand slam and a small but effective explosion erupts on his desk, forcing him to jerk up in fear and fall backwards out of his chair. He rubbed his head in pain as a tall and looming shadow enveloped him. The spiky blonde grinned at Izuku with a sinister smile. You think someone as weak and quirkless like you could ever possibly hope to match me? Stop trying to make me laugh, Deku. Izuku's relationship with the blonde has been complicated over the years. When Izuku was diagnosed as quirkless, his once childhood friend began his tyranny and bullied him until he either cried or, on rare occasion, managed to escape. And no, Kaken. I'm not trying to compete with you, it's just, well, I at least wanted to try to, Izuku stuttered. Try to what? You're quirkless, Deku, or did you forget that when you were daydreaming about having a quirk? The spiky blonde yelled. What could you ever possibly hope to do, huh? The sound of his classmates laughing filled the room as Izuku desperately tried to block it out, looking down and avoiding eye contact with anyone else. Once the class settled down, it resumed as normal. The bell rang, signifying the end of class and the day. Izuku looked at the news on his phone. One article in particular caught his eye. The new vigilantes of Hosu City. Threat or menace? Vigilantes. Izuku whispered as he clicked on the news article and a video plays. Appearing just roughly a week ago, there have been multiple eyewitness reports stating that there are a string of new vigilantes that have been interfering with pro-heroes' work, taking down villains and many gangs in the area, taking the law into their own hands and capturing said villains without the proper permit. The photos provided from the citizens of Hosu of the vigilantes indicate that these people may be part of a gang or an underground organization that intends to defy the Hero Association laws put in place. Currently, the vigilantes have managed to stop 6 villain attacks, taking on 4 Grade A villains and 2 Grade B villains. The current number of their group, however, remains a mystery. Currently, the vigilantes have managed to stop 6 villain attacks, taking on 4 Grade A villains and 2 Grade B villains. The current number of their group, however, remains a mystery. The vigilantes have encountered heroes on multiple occasions, managing to escape each and every time without putting up any kind of physical resistance whatsoever. Although the online majority praise these vigilantes for their actions and the people they saved, the other party have different opinions. The video cuts to an interview of a citizen. We have quirk laws put in place to keep the peace. These vigilantes are everything that's wrong with the world. If anyone was free to use their quirks at any time, who knows the amount of chaos and damage it could to do the world. I'm telling you right now, these guys are gonna cause more problems than they solve. Selfish use of your quirk will only bring misfortune to others. You all should just let the trained professionals handle these situations. Look, I'm just saying that despite the good they're doing, vigilantism is still a crime. And like all crimes, you have to turn yourself in and pay the price. They stink and I don't like them. When asking the representatives of the Hero Association about what the vigilantes, here's the statement they had to give. I assure you all, we will catch all of these vigilantes and put them all in bars. We have the best top heroes on the lookout for any one of these, however many there may be. I promise you, citizens of Hosu City, your safety is in good hands. No way, a group of vigilantes. Izuku said, they sounds dangerous, but Izuku couldn't help but stare at the strange people on his phone, that scrolled up and down multiple times, as if trying to get a better angle on them. As if by instinct, he begins to sketch the vigilantes in his notebook. They look so amazing. I wonder what their quirks are. Izuku said to himself excitedly. Wait, is that a grasshopper? Izuku said, looking at the picture of the dark green vigilante. Well, if I ever run into them, it wouldn't hurt to take some more notes. They might not be heroes, but they can't be all bad if they're saving people, right? Izuku put his phone in his pocket and began packing up his belongings. He took one last look at his hero analysis notebook. Smiling, he begins to put it back in his bag only for it to be snatched away by Katsuki and his entourage. Kaken, wait. Izuku pleaded to his once friend. Without a moment's hesitation, Katsuki uses his quirk and explodes the notebook right in front of Izuku, causing him to scream in terror. Adding salt to the wound, he tosses it out the window, causing Izuku even more grief. The best heroes out there all have one thing in common, Deku, and it's that they had always shown signs of greatness, even as students. That's why I'm going to be the only one to get into you. From this crappy public school, the first one to ever get the honor of going to you. In this school's history, and the only one who will ever have that honor. Katsuki proclaims as he grabs Deku's shoulder and begins to use his quirk. That's why, if you even think about getting into you, you're dead meat, Deku. Are we clear? The look of killer intent in Katsuki's eyes pierces Deku's soul, rendering him even unable to move or speak. Katsuki releases Deku's shoulder and shoulder bumps him aside. Just before he leaves the classroom, however. Hey, I just got a great idea. If you really want to be a hero so much, why don't you take a swan dive off the school's roof and pray for a quirk in your next life? Katsuki yelled out just before leaving. Izuku was all alone in the classroom, standing in the same spot as he had been when he was threatened by Katsuki. His heart racing and his fear rising, it was almost as if he was drowning in despair. Finally, he managed to compose himself and began to head out of the school. He walked around behind the school to retrieve the thrown-out notebook. He finds the notebook in a small fish pond. He picks it up reluctantly and stares at the damaged and wet notebook. Holding the damaged notebook to his chest, he walks home, fighting back the tears as best as he could. Katsuki's words replayed over and over in Izuku's mind, unable to stop himself from thinking about it. Hey, I just got a great idea. If you really want to be a hero so much, why don't you take a swan dive off the school's roof and pray for a quirk in your next life? No, don't think about that. With enough hard work, I can make it. I know I can. Izuku tried saying to himself. He stops right under a bridge and looks at the notebook once more, staring at it for a long time. Can I really become a hero? He thought in his mind. Boom. Just a few feet from him, a sewer tile bursts open with a dark green goo erupting from it. An eye emerges from the goo as well as an evil smile once he spots Izuku. Perfect timing, kid. The goo said. Perfect timing, kid. The goo said, a villain. Izuku yelled. He tries to run away from the villain, only to be caught by the villain's goo and dragged back. I need to borrow your body, kid. It's bad enough I got All Might on my tail, but now I got one of those vigilantes chasing me as well. Stop struggling and let me have your body. The goo yelled as he began to enter Izuku's body. I need to borrow your body, kid. It's bad enough I got All Might on my tail, but now I got one of those vigilantes chasing me as well. Stop struggling and let me have your body. The goo yelled as he began to enter Izuku's body. Izuku begins to suffocate and panic. He flails his arms and legs, but it was no use. There was no way he could possibly break out of the villain's grasp. Is it really going to end like this? Can't breathe, Izuku thought to himself. Izuku begins to black out from the lack of oxygen. Then, from the same sewer hole, a bright green goo emerges and sees what the villain is doing. The villain looks behind him and sees the green vigilante reforming. Don't think so, ugly. Let the kid go. The green vigilante yelled out. Don't think so, ugly. Let the kid go. The green vigilante yelled out, you again. Back off or the kid gets it. The villain yelled. The green vigilante doesn't hesitate and uses the device hovering over his head to rush the villain with impeccable speed. With the same device, he uses it to pull both his gooey body and the villain off of Izuku. What the hell? The villain exclaimed. Your body chemistry isn't all that different of Goop's own, it's just more dense. But the best thing about this guy, I can change my own density to match yours, and when I do I can pull this off. Goop yelled out. Goop then changed his body form into a ball that contained the sludge villain who desperately tried to break out. Using the device above him, Goop began to spin rapidly with the villain still inside his ball. What are you doing? The villain yelled. Tell me, sludge man, you prone to motion sickness. Goop yelled as he began to spin faster and faster. Goop then deforms the ball, sending the sludge villain crashing against the wall and splattering everywhere. Izuku opens his eyes weakly to see what Goop had done. Goop's device then reforms his body. He dusts of his own hands. And that is what they say, Goop said before a bright green light flashes and revealing Rin 10,000 in Goop's place. Is that? Izuku begins to black out again. Just before he does, he sees Rin look at Izuku and rushes over to his aid. "Hey!" a voice said quietly. "Hey!" the same voice said louder. "Come on kid, don't die on me now." The voice said more clear this time. Izuku awakens slowly to see Rin 10,000 slapping his cheek lightly. "Oh, thank God you're alive. For a second there, I thought you already crossed over," Rin said cheeringly. Izuku sits up and looks at Ren. Who are you?" Izuku asked. "I could be asking you the same thing kid. My name's Ren." Ren replied. "I Izuku Midoriya," Izuku replied. "Well, great to meet ya Izuku," Ren said as he looked over to the remains of the sludge villain. "Just wish that it could have been under better circumstances you remember anything about what happened." Izuku looks over at the remains as well, then he suddenly remembers what had happened. Wait, the villain. The sludge villain, then the green guy. And then Izuku looks at Ren again and remembers seeing him transform back from goop. Izuku said quietly. "What about me?" Ren replied. "Why you're one of those vigilantes aren't you? I saw you use your quirk. It was the same as one of those vigilantes from the news." Izuku said frighteningly. Please don't hurt me. I promise I won't tell anyone." "Kid, relax. I ain't gonna do anything," Ren assured. Izuku put down his arms and looked at Ren who was crouching to meet Izuku's eye level. Really?" Izuku asked. "Course not, what kinda monster do you think I am? Honestly, I'm a bit offended that you would lump into the same type of category as that villain." "I'm deeply sorry," Izuku yelled out, bowing as he did. "It was just a joke kid," Ren explained. Ren looks to his feet as sees a notebook. "What's this?" Ren asked, reaching down to the notebook. "No, wait," Izuku pleaded, but it was too late. Ren opened the notebook and began reading the contents. He flips through the pages, reading each page intently and thoroughly. "Do you want to become a hero?" Ren asked Izuku. Izuku said, puzzled by Ren's question. "This notebook is yours, right? These notes on heroes are really detailed and thorough. You've even got something on Kamui Woods." Ren continued to flip through the pages until he reached the section where Izuku had sketched the vigilantes won the news. He got to Goop's page and smiled. "I do want to be one, but..." Izuku paused. "But what?" "You see, I don't have a quirk, so a lot of people have been telling me that I shouldn't even try lately. I've been thinking that they're right," Izuku said distressingly. "A part of me wants to at least try, but there's another part that says it's hopeless lately. I've been thinking that this other part is right, that it might be time to get realistic, that even if I get into the best hero school in Japan, I'd probably only be in the general studies course rather than a hero course, but..." Ren closes the notebook and uses it to lightly tap Izuku's head. Izuku is a bit startled by this and looks at Ren, who has a wide smile on his face. "It's your dream, isn't it?" Ren asked. "To become a hero?" "Why, yes. Then, that's the only confirmation you need," Ren said proudly. "Who cares what others might think? A quirk isn't what makes someone a hero, you know. It's what they do with the things they're given that makes them so. If it's your dream to become a hero, then you should do what you can to try and achieve it. You really think I can do it? It ain't a matter of whether or not you can. It's all just a matter of whether or not you have the courage to move forward with it." Izuku's eyes begin to light up with hope and shine with tears. "Now tell me, does Izuku Midoriya have that courage?" Rin said with a smile as he handed Izuku back his notebook. "Well, I'll see you around, Izuku. I should probably get out of here before the big guy shows up." Ren begins to run off. "Remember kid, quirk or no quirk, it's your heart that counts." Izuku watches Ren run off into the distance. He smiles brightly and hugs his notebook even tighter. "Wait, what big guy?" Izuku thought to himself. Then behind him bursts a muscular man from the sewers in a white t-shirt and green cargo pants. Then behind him bursts a muscular man from the sewers in a white t-shirt and green cargo pants. It's all right now, why? Because Izuku couldn't believe his own eyes. Izuku couldn't believe his own eyes. All Might, the #1 hero and his idol, had just appeared before his eyes. He almost passed out again just from the sight of All Might. "All Might!" Izuku yelled with excitement. Hello young man, you wouldn't happen to have seen a sludge villain pass through here would you? All Might asked Izuku. Oh. Izuku stuttered as he pointed to the bits of sludge all over the bridge. He's there, and over there, and a bit up there. All Might couldn't believe his eyes. Did this boy really defeat a villain all by himself? Why, he must have a powerful quirk. Impressive. What's your name, young man? All Might asked. Oh, it's Izuku Midoriya, sir. Izuku responded. Midoriya, I must ask. Did you do this? All Might asked. Oh no. Not at all, it was one of the vigilantes. Why, from the news. Izuku tried to explain. The green goo guy. I see, did you see where he went? Well, no, Izuku knew he had to lie to his idol. Sure, vigilantes are considered criminals, but how could he rat out of someone who had just told him that his dream was possible? I was attacked by the villain you see, and I ended up passing out. I think the green goo guy saved me though. All Might listen to Izuku Midoriya's explanation with a blank smile on his face. Well, what's done is done. At least there will be one less criminal on the streets. Say, would you mind helping me scoop this guy up into this bottle, young Midoriya? Why, sure. Izuku replied. They both worked on picking up the remains of the sludge villain in awkward silence. I can't believe I just lied to All Might, the All Might. Does this make me an accomplice? Am I going to jail? Is my dream already over before it even began? Izuku thought to himself frantically. All Might noticed the boy shaking as he picked up the rest of the sludge villain. Midoriya put the last of the sludge villain's remains into the empty soda bottle and All Might put the cap back on. Thank you for your help, young Midoriya. Now then, duty calls. All Might said. Wait. Izuku yelled out. See, can I ask you something, All Might? Izuku asked. All Might looked at Izuku questioningly when he noticed the notebook in his hand. Of course. He must want an autograph but was too nervous to ask for one. I understand, not a problem. All Might said before grabbing the notebook from Izuku. All Might quickly signs the book and returns it to Midoriya, who looks at the signed book in awe. All Might really signed my book? Izuku whispered. Now then, stay safe, young Midoriya. All Might said as he was about to take off. No, wait. That isn't one I wanted to ask. Izuku shouted before grabbing All Might's leg. All Might was not gliding through the air when he felt a strange weight on his leg. When he looked to see what it was none other than Izuku Midoriya holding on for dear life. When he looked to see what it was none other than Izuku Midoriya holding on for dear life. I have a lot of things I want to ask you directly. Izuku shouted against the wind. Previously, I have a lot of things. I have a lot of things I want to ask you directly. Izuku shouted against the wind. All Might begins to try and push Izuku off of his leg. Izuku, however, continued to hold on desperately for his life. Maybe being more than 100 feet in the air has something to do with that desperation. Young Midoriya, I understand that you're a fan of mine, but this is going a bit far. Please let go. All Might said. But if I let go, I'll fall and die. Izuku yelled back. Oh yes, that is a fair point. All Might replied. Please, All Might, I just want to ask you some things. It won't take long, you're my all-time favorite hero, so please. Izuku pleaded. All right, I understand, young Midoriya. Just close your eyes and mouth. All Might said before landing on the roof of a building. Izuku finally releases All Might's leg and falls backward, wheezing and trying to catch his breath, almost in shock of what just happened. I'm sure that someone will let you down if you keep knocking on that door. Please, young Midoriya, do not try something that dangerous again. All Might said as he walked towards the edge of the roof. Wait, my question? Izuku pleaded. No, I cannot wait any longer. All Might replied. Izuku, getting up, makes a fist with both of his hands and squeezes them as tightly as possible, mustering up every bit of courage that he could possibly find and releases all of it through a single question. Do you think that I can become a hero even without a quirk? Izuku shouted at the top of his lungs. There is a pause, followed by a moment of silence accompanied by the wind. All Might stands at the edge motionless, a bit taken aback by the boy's question. He looks back at Izuku, who was standing as tall as he could, stiff as a board with his eyes closed and head down. Without a quirk, All Might thought to himself, failing to realize the steam being released from his body. Demon I forgot. You see, I'm just a kid with no special powers. I've always saw how heroes risk their lives to save anyone. They can from villains. I suppose that's why I always thought that saving people is the coolest thing someone could ever do. Recently, I met a stranger who told me that it was possible. His answer gave me hope. That's why I wanted to ask you personally. I want to become a hero like you. Someone who always is saving people with a fearless smile dash poof. With the loud poof interrupting Izuku could finish his sentence, shock and confusion comes over him as he analyzed the large puff of smoke in front of him and a skeletal man in All Might's place. An awkward silence ensued the moment, followed by an awkward silence ensued the moment, followed by, "You're not All Might. Who are you, an imposter?" Izuku frantically shouted. "I assure you I am All Miga." All Might before BLD comes gushing out of his mouth. Let me explain. All Might explained to Izuku Midoriya about his injury from a previous fight with a villain years ago, even going so far as to show the wound on his chest. Now because of this wound, I can only do hero work for about 3 hours a day. Now because of this wound, I can only do hero work for about 3 hours a day. Izuku could only look at All Might's wound in horror. He couldn't believe that his hero had kept this a secret from the public and now he knew about it. This information is strictly classified and is only known by a select few in the hero world. If this information ever got out to the public, there will surely be unimaginable chaos and villainy following it. I trust you not to speak of any of this anywhere to anyone. Why yes, of course, All Might, sir. Izuku yelped. Thank you, young Midoriya. Now then. All Might replied as he stood up. As for your question, Izuku immediately stood upright, stiff as a board. The symbol of peace must be someone of peerless character, one who will never be daunted by evil and always save people with a smile. The reason I smile is to distract myself from the overwhelming pressure that comes at times and to put everyone at ease. A hero is someone who is willing to risk their lives to save others. With that in mind, I'm sorry, young man, but no. Without a quirk, I just don't think it's possible for you to become a hero, and just like that, all the tension Izuku had been holding within himself shatters, causing him to fall to his knees in shock and despair. All Might tries to comfort the teen, reaching out to him but stopping midway, fearing that it would only make things worse. He begins to walk towards the door of the rooftop. Before he leaves, however, it's not wrong to dream, young Midoriya. It's admirable that you want to help people. But there are different ways you can make a difference. You could always join the police force. People often mock them, but it's because of their work that we're able to put villains behind bars. Try to be realistic and think about it. And just like that, All Might takes his leave. Izuku, on the other hand, remains on his knees. All Might's words weren't registering with him, only one phrase he managed to take in before blacking out. Without a quirk, I just don't think it's possible for you to become a hero. Is it really not possible? But then why? Izuku thought to himself before remembering Ren's words to him. A quirk isn't what makes someone a hero, you know. It's what they do with the things they're given that makes them so. Maybe he just said that to make me feel better, maybe. In the end, it doesn't matter what I do, Izuku said to himself. In a certain alleyway, what happened? The bottled sludge villain said, slowly opening his eyes. What the hell? Where am I? I can't move. The last thing I remember was, the sludge villain remember his fight with Goop, the vigilante that made headline news. That copycat Goof. He must have did this to me. I swear, if I ever see him again, the sludge villain shouted in anger. Before he continues his rant, however, he hears a group of voices coming from further down the alleyway. Hey Katsuki, isn't Midoriya your childhood friend? A boy with black hair asked. You sure went overboard today, another boy with long hair added. It's his fault for getting in my way. Katsuki replied while kicking the bottle of sludge. The bottle hits a pole and the cap pops off, released the sludge inside. He's an idiot dreaming like a child. Katsuki said, exploding his hands in the process. Just looking at him pisses me off. Then, let's hit the arcade. You in? The boy with black hair asked. Fine. Why don't we go to the one in front of the station? There's a lot of prey over there. Are you stupid? If we get caught, it's going on my personal record. Katsuki shouted. The two boys laugh, then their laughing stops when a looming shadow is cast over them. One of the points behind Katsuki. Katsuki turns around and is met with the sludge villain. An invisibility cloak with a great quirk. Just what I needed. The sludge villain yelled. Back at the building, All Might begins to walk out of the building, still thinking about Izuku on the roof. He couldn't help but feel guilty over his words, but what was he supposed to say? If he had said yes, then the boy might have rushed into a situation that could get himself killed. But it isn't as if he didn't know where the boy was coming from. In any case, time to get you down to the station so you can properly get dash, All Might said as he tapped the side of his pocket, only to feel it empty. Damn it. I must have lost him when Midoriya latched onto my leg. I have to find him quickly. All Might thought frantically. As All Might finishes that thought, an explosion can be heard from a far-off distance, just a few blocks away. Oh no, please don't be what I think it is. All Might said just before running off. On the rooftop, Izuku looks to his left, seeing the smoke from the explosion just a few blocks away. An explosion? Is it a villain attack? I wonder what hero will show up. Izuku said as he ran to the door. Without a quirk, I just don't think it's possible for you to become a hero. Izuku stops in his tracks upon replaying these words in his mind. His momentary smile soon turned into a sad frown as he walked to the door, in no rush to go anywhere. What would be the point? Izuku thought to himself before going down the stairs. At a certain ramen noodle stand, Ren sat at the noodle stand, slurping up a bowl of chef's prized ramen in delight. Delicious as always, chef. Ren exclaimed. Thanks for cooking me up a bowl. I was starving. Not at all, you're one of my favorite customers after all. It's on the house anytime you want a bowl. Chef replied. Say, none of those thugs came back to bother you again, have they? You just have to say the word and I'll make sure they're history. Ren commented. No, nothing yet. It's been pretty calm this past week, so I think I'm in the clear. Good to hear. I'd hate for your stand to be gone. This is the best ramen I've ever tasted. More like the only ramen you've ever tasted. You know, there are plenty of other famous ramen shops. You ever thought about going to try their stuff? No way. If it's not from you, chef, it just wouldn't be the same. Plus, I don't exactly have any earth money, Ren replied. Earth money? Chef said questioningly. Before Chef could continue his thought, the news suddenly interrupts the broadcast on the big screen of Hosu City with a live feed of the villain attack. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you breaking news. An unidentified sludge villain was reported to have started on a rampage of attacking citizens and heroes alike in the market district. To make matters worse, the villain seems to have taken a hostage that has some type of explosion quirk and forcing him to use it to attack the heroes. The damage caused by the villain has started a mass wildfire of city blocks, stretching the heroes' forces thin and hindering the hostage's rescue. Ren watches intently with a large strand of noodles still hanging from his mouth. Hey chef, is that area close to here? Ren asked. It is. It's just a few blocks south of here. I recognize some of the shops there. I take my daughter there to buy snacks all the time. Oh, I hope she isn't there now, Chef said looking back at Ren, only to find his seat empty. Ren. Back with Izuku. Izuku walks down the street quietly, flipping through his notebook of heroes. When he gets to All Might's autograph, the words that broke him echoed once more. Without a quirk, I just don't think it's possible for you to become a hero. Stop crying. Izuku said to himself. You knew all along, didn't you? You were just avoiding reality. That's why you were so desperate to prove yourself wrong. Izuku trips over a small crack on the sideway, dropping his notebook in the process. While he manages to catch himself, his notebook bounces on the ground and opens to Goop's page. Izuku stares at the sketch of Goop and remembers Ren's words to him. Now tell me, does Izuku Midoriya have that courage? Izuku stares at the notebook for a short while. He then picks it up and stares at Goop. He grips the book tightly as if not wanting to give up but is being forced to face reality. Small tears form in his eyes as he continues walking. "Thank you for the kind words, Mr. Ren, but I don't think I do," Izuku thought to himself weakly before turning a corner. Maybe I should take All Might's advice. Maybe becoming a police officer won't be that bad. He then sees a large crowd of people around an area that seems to be smoking. Is that where the explosion happened? Did I subconsciously walk here? Izuku muttered. He soon joined the crowd to witness the commotion. Why am I even here? All of my notes are useless now. I should just keep walking. Izuku's eyes widen as he realized what villain was attacking. That's the villain that attacked me earlier today. But that's not possible. Rin defeated him and All Might captured him in the bottle. Izuku remembers his meeting with All Might on the roof, realizing that All Might's pockets were empty with no bottle in sight. His pockets, they were empty. Soon the citizens began muttering among themselves. Hey, why aren't the heroes doing anything? Looks like their quirks aren't suitable for this type of villain, plus they got a hostage. Izuku almost vomits remembering what it felt like to be suffocated by the sludge villain. Hey, isn't that the villain All Might was chasing? Wait, seriously, but there's no way he could lose against this guy. Why isn't he here now to help? Soon from another corner, Rin arrives to see the situation. The news said one hostage and a sludge villain. It's the same villain from earlier. But I thought All Might would have captured him already. Why is he here now? Rin said to himself. Rin takes a look at the other heroes who weren't doing anything at all. He recognizes Death Arms and shakes his fist in anger. Why are you all just standing there? How long will you watch before enough is enough? Is there even one real hero here to handle this? Rin thought to himself. It's my fault I wasted his energy. He can't power up yet and none of the other heroes have the right quirks. This is all my fault, all my fault. I'm so sorry. Help will come soon. A real hero will save you, I'm sure of it. As Izuku continued to stare in horror of the situation, when he saw the hostage's eyes begging for help, he realized who the hostage was. Kaken. Katsuki's eyes begin to water and in that moment, Izuku's legs began to move on their own, causing him to burst forward into the action. The citizens and heroes could only watch in shock as Izuku ran towards the villain. Rin also notices Izuku running towards the villain. Don't do it, you idiot, you'll get yourself killed. Death Arms yelled. That kid Izuku. Rin asked himself. Not this brat again. The sludge villain yelled. The sludge villain turns to face Izuku and forces Katsuki to hold out his hand. Get lost, brat. The sludge villain yelled as he forced Katsuki to fire off an explosion. Izuku somehow manages to dodge the explosion and continue running towards the villain. What do I do? What do I do? What would a hero do? Page 25, cut off his eyesight. In panic, Izuku took off his backpack and threw it at the villain, hitting the villain in the eyes and causing the villain to stagger and momentarily release his hold on both him and Katsuki. Izuku continues his futile attempt to dig Katsuki out. He arrives, grabbing Katsuki's arms through the goo and tries desperately to pull Katsuki out. Meanwhile, Ren then runs off somewhere, away from the public eye. What the hell are you doing here, Deku? Katsuki yelled out. I don't know, my legs just started moving on their own and before I knew it, I was here. I couldn't just stand here and watch you die. Izuku said on the verge of tears with snot dripping down his nose. You demon brat, I'll end you. The sludge villain said before firing off another one of Katsuki's explosion, blasting Izuku away from him. Before he crash-landed, however, he is caught by bright green goo creature and lands safely. Green goo. Izuku said as he observed the object he landed on. A green head then emerged and faced Izuku. Doing something as reckless as that. I gotta admit, kid, you've got guts. Izuku immediately recognized who had just saved him. Mr. Ren. Izuku exclaimed. The name's Goop if you don't mind. Goop replied. The name's Goop if you don't mind. Goop replied. One of the vigilantes. Death Arms yelled. Stop. We don't have time for that, we need to focus on getting those kids out of there. Another hero yelled. My friend, Kaken. He's still trapped in there. Izuku said pointing to Katsuki. You know him. Goop asked. Yes. Please, you need to save him. Goop takes a moment to look at the villain. You again, don't think the same trick will work again, you copycat F. The sludge villain yelled. Izuku, did you notice anything where you were that close? Goop asked. His eyes. Izuku quickly replied. When he tried to attack me, I threw my bag at his eyes. It seemed to have hurt him a bit. His eyes, huh? Izuku, I have a plan. But I'm going to need your help. What? B but dash, there's no time to argue, you're the only one here. The other heroes are too scared to do anything. You want to save your friend, don't you? Goop asked. Your friend's going to die, Izuku. As if SWH had been flipped in his mind, he stood up and Goop reformed his body. What do I need to do? Izuku asked. Goop then stretches himself, forming a slingshot-like device along the walls of the buildings of the district. I'm going to launch you, with enough force, you should be able to grab your friend right through the goo. But he'll see that coming, won't he? I got that covered. Now get in, Izuku. Izuku looked at Katsuki again, who was still struggling against the villain. But what if I miss, what if I can't grab him? If I mess up, then he'll, Izuku thought to himself. A green hand suddenly grabs his shoulder. Izuku, your friend needs you. You can do this. I believe in you. You came this far, don't stop now. Goop assured Izuku. Izuku jumps over Goop's body and begins to walk backwards into Goop's slingshot, getting enough runaway for a launch. What does he think he's doing? All Might said to himself. When Goop's body could no longer stretch any further, Izuku braces for launch. Ready. Ready. Fire. Both Izuku and Goop launched themselves towards the villain at almost necking-breaking speed, with Izuku screaming at the top of his lungs, arms open wide. What an obvious plan. Hope you two are ready to die. The sludge villain yelled, preparing to attack Izuku. From behind Izuku, however, Goop flies past Izuku and splatters himself onto the villain's eyes. Using the device above his head, he stretches himself upward, pulling the sludge villain's head with him and blocking his eyes. It. I can't see. I can't see. Like before, the villain releases his grip on Katsuki to try and rip off Goop from his head. Kaken. Izuku yelled, still flying towards Katsuki. Izuku manages to break through the villain's sludge and pushes Katsuki out of the villain's grasp. Katsuki was unconscious. It was probably a good thing, however. I did it. Izuku said to himself. Goop lands behind them and creates a bed for them to safely land on. You sure did, kid. Get him out of here, Izuku, I'll handle him. Alright. Izuku said, carrying Katsuki over his shoulder and running away. Just before running past the villain and towards the heroes, he looks back at Goop, who was assuming a fighting position. That really hurt, you know. The sludge villain said as he managed to finally rip the gunk shots off. I'll make you pay for that. Oh really? Here's hoping you'll finally be able to do something right. Goop said mockingly. The sludge villain attacks Goop, who dodges by flying past him using the floating device above his head. Don't think for 1 second that same trick will work twice. He continues to dodge the villain's onslaught. Come on, man, this is getting boring. Can you please just turn yourself in already? I got somewhere to be. Shut your mouth. The sludge villain yelled as he began picking up objects around him. Eat this. The sludge villain tosses some debris at Ren. Good idea. A green flash blinds the villain and the rest of the spectators as it revealed a new form. Upchuck. The new form yelled. What the hell? The villain yelled out, what the hell? The villain yelled out. Did he just change forms? A spectator yelled out. No way, what an awesome quirk. Is he really a vigilante? He can change forms. Izuku said to himself. Wait, then does that mean? Upchuck eats the debris with ease and fires back at the sludge villain, causing pieces of his body to splatter across the district and get smaller. Upchuck lands on the ground and faces the villain. He continues to eat more debris and fires more shots while running around the villain, this time, at the villain's eyes again. UBSTRD. Stop doing that. The villain yelled out. If you say so. Upchuck replied. Another bright green flash envelopes the district as it revealed yet another new form. Spitter! The new form yelled. Spitter! The new form yelled. Spitter fires a gush of yellow ooze on the villain, causing him to be drenched in it and splatters small parts of the sludge's body across the plaza. The villain tries to reform his body, but the yellow ooze was too slippery to let him. What is this? The sludge villain exclaimed. Oh, you'll find out. Once more, another flash of green light reveals another new form. Shock Squatch. Get ready for this shocking experience. Shock Squatch proclaimed as his fist began to surge with electricity. Get ready for this shocking experience. Shock Squatch proclaimed as his fist began to surge with electricity. He slams down on the stream of ooze left by Spitter. The ooze conducts instantly with Shock Squatch's electricity and shocks the sludge villain relentlessly, making him scream in pain until he splatters across the entire district. Sleep tight, Gooman. Now for another problem. Shock Squatch said as he looked at the fires around the district. Another bright green light flashes and reveals another new form. Water Hazard. Water Hazard begins to fire a torrent of water from his palms in order to put out the fires around him. Water Hazard begins to fire a torrent of water from his palms in order to put out the fires around him. Once all the fires were put out, he does a big stretch. And that is that. The simmering of embers was soon followed by cheering of the civilians. That guy's awesome. He managed to defeat that villain and save those kids. Who is this guy? With a quirk like that, he could have easily gone pro. Well, I suppose I should be thankful that he showed up, even if he's a vigilante. But now, All Might said to himself while looking at Izuku. I have some wrongs I need to make right. Ren looks back at the crowd who was cheering for him. Mr. Ren, you're amazing. Izuku said out loud while gazing at Ren. You won't get away this time. Death Arms said as he ran towards Ren. You're under arrest for vigilantism and endangerment of a child. Death Arms punches Ren, who dodges with ease and fires a torrent of water to push Death Arms into a food stand. I just did 80% of your job and this is the thanks I get. Ren said sarcastically. Endangerment of a child, police. Like standing by and watching him die was any better. Unfortunately, big guy, I don't have time for this. I have some business to attend to. A bright green light flashes once more and reveals a new form. Jetray. Maybe next time, you'll wear a diaper underneath that tacky costume so people won't see just how bad you were pissing yourself. Maybe next time, you'll wear a diaper underneath that tacky costume so people won't see just how bad you were pissing yourself. With that said, it looks like you have a villain to pick up. Jet Ray said as he then flew off into the sky, unable for anyone to catch him. Later. Minute he got away again. Death Arms yelled as he got up drenched in water. Let's just focus on getting his villain in jail. Another hero said. But first, the heroes looked to Izuku who was still gazing at Jet Ray flying. You idiot! The heroes yelled towards Izuku. Do you have any idea how dangerous that was? You could have gotten yourself killed. Izuku flinches at their shouting and begins bowing furiously. He looks over at Bakugo who was receiving medical attention and praise from the other heroes. But somehow, he didn't feel jealous or sad. He smiled, knowing that he had helped save his friend. After a long scolding, Izuku finally starts heading home under the bright glow of the sunset. He stops by Takoba Municipal Beach Park, where he leans on the railing and stares past the heaps of trash and into the ocean. He thinks about the feeling he got when he managed to grab Katsuki through the villain's goo. He smiles and grips his backpack straps even tighter. I wish I could have gotten to thank Ren for back then, Izuku thought to himself. His words, they gave me the strength to save Katsuki, even though he knew I was quirkless. He believed in me. Oh well, guess it's too late for that now, Deku. A voice called out to him from behind. It was Katsuki. Kaken. Izuku said quietly. A running Katsuki comes charging at Izuku, then stopping to catch his breath. Listen to me. I would never ask someone like you to help me. Don't you dare look down on me, not for 1 second. You got that? I was fine on my own. You're just a quirkless loser who wouldn't even cut it as a rent-a-cop. You didn't help me. You did nothing, got that? Katsuki shouted before angrily turning away. What was that about? Izuku said to himself. Well, he's right. With no quirk, I don't have a chance of becoming a hero. I guess it's time to choose a different future. Just as Izuku turned away and began walking home, a black and blue feline-like man appeared in front of him, bringing with him a strong gust of wind. There you are, I've been looking everywhere for you. Wah! Izuku yelled, taken aback slightly by the stranger's approach. Wah! Izuku yelled, taken aback slightly by the stranger's approach. Who are you? Kid, relax. It's me. The blue man explained. Izuku stares a bit longer before replying. Mr. Rin. Is that really? Izuku asked. Well, right now I'm fast track, but I can change that, Rin said before slamming the dial on his chest. A bright green flash blinds Izuku when he opens his eyes. Ren is there standing in front of him. They're better? Ren asked. Mr. Ren. It really is you. Well, I told you it was. Like I said, I've been looking everywhere for you. What do you need from me? Ren smiles and puts his hands in his pocket. I wanted to ask you an important question, Izuku. One that could change your life forever. You got some time? Izuku nods his head yes. Ren walks past him and looks at the ocean view. Remember when we met earlier today, under that bridge with the sludge villain? Ren asked. Oh, of course I do. And do you remember what you told me? That you wanted to become a hero, despite having no quirks. Why yes. You want to know what I thought about that when you first told me that? I thought, this kid's either the craziest kid I've ever met, or he might just have the biggest heart in the world. Izuku remained silent, listening to his words but slowly being filled with hope. I still believe that quirks aren't everything. In fact, they're not even necessary to become a hero. Sure, they help, but it's not what really matters. What matters is the heart. Izuku finishing Ren's sentence. Ren looks back at Izuku with a smile. Today, when the sludge villain took that kid hostage while all the other heroes were hesitating and the kid was suffering, the one with the biggest heart of them all rushed into action, with no hesitation. That guy was the coolest hero I've ever seen in my life. Izuku's eyes lit up like a sparkle as tears formed in his eyes. Ren takes a step towards Izuku. Izuku, would you believe me if I told you that I'm actually quirkless as well? Huh? Izuku muttered. But I saw you use your quirk. You changed into those things. You changed into 5 of those things at once. Yes, I did. But not because I have a quirk, but because I have this. It's called the Omnitrix. Long story short, it's what lets me transforms into the creatures you saw today. It's called the Omnitrix. Long story short, it's what lets me transforms into the creatures you saw today. Also, they're not creatures. They're actually aliens from different worlds. Their DNA is all stored in this device right here. A device that lets someone transform into a creature that has a quirk. Not just creatures, but aliens. So aliens really do exist. I mean, there's been theories dating back to more than a century ago, but is that even possible? I've never heard of anything like that before. That must be a piece of advanced technology. I've only ever heard of people using support items that lets them utilize their quirks before, but something that essentially gives you a quirk is just, Izuku muttered to himself quickly, trying to understand how it works. You nerd out pretty easily, huh? But yeah, in other words, I'm exactly like you. Quirkless through and through. Ren said after chopping Izuku's head to snap him out of his muttering. From a distance, All Might in his skeletal form was about to turn the corner, looking for Izuku when he saw him talking to Ren. He began to listen in on their conversation. That young man, haven't I met him before? All Might asked himself. Thanks for trying to make me feel better, but I'm nothing like you. You were awesome when you were fighting that villain. You were confident and brave, but Izuku explained. There is a moment of silence shared between the two. But you were the one who saved your friend, wasn't it? Ren asked. Izuku looked up with surprise in his face. Sure, I may have been the one to launch you, but you were the one who caught him. I couldn't have done it without your help, Izuku. You did that, not me. Could you believe that? A scrawny little kid with no powers or skills, just wanting to try and save someone who needed help. Rushing into danger without any hesitation. That kid alone looked danger in the face, shouted and fought against it with all of his courage and heart. If that doesn't make someone a hero, then I don't know what does in all honesty. I may be from a different world, but I know a hero when I see one. Izuku. Wait, is he the one who fought that villain earlier? The vigilante? All Might thought to himself. That's why I want to offer you a chance, Izuku. The same chance that was offered to me years ago, one that changed my life forever. I'll only ask once, and you can only answer me once. You have two options before you, Izuku Midoriya. You can go home now and begin choosing a different future. Or, Rin said as he held out his hand. You can take my hand, accept my gift and become both my successor and a hero. Izuku, upon hearing Ren's offer, could no longer maintain his composure and dropped down to his knees in tears, clutching his heart as the emotions he was feeling was too much. All his life, he just wanted someone to believe in him. His mother, his teachers, his so-called friends, they all told him the same thing over and over again. For the first time in his life, he felt as if his dreams were possible. They were all finally possible, through this man. Rin 10,000, what do you say, Izuku? Do you still want to become a hero? Rin asked. Izuku looked up at Ren, who was glowing with the sunset behind him like a ray of hope. With a smile covered in tears, Izuku gives his answer. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Ren. Ren smiles and kneels down, placing his hand on Izuku's shoulder to comfort him. From now on it's, Sensei. Ren said to Izuku. All Might stares at the two in curiosity, Ren especially. Ren, just what are you up to? The morning sun shines through Izuku Midoriya's window and onto his face, awakening him from his sleep. He winces at the light before sitting up in his bed. He looks out his window and smiles, for today is a very special day for him. The day he starts his training with Rin 10,000. Yesterday, Izuku is slowly wiping away his tears as Rin tries to comfort him. No offense, kid, but I've never seen some cry as much as you just did. Rin commented. Izuku sniffles with a chuckle at Ren's comment. Sorry, it was just, I know, kid, I know. So I have to ask. What did you mean by accepting your gift, exactly? And your successor? What's all that about? I can't really explain it all at once right now. It's a long story, one that requires a lot of time. So how about this, are you free tomorrow? Yes, I have a day off from school tomorrow. Awesome. Then meet me here tomorrow morning and I'll explain everything. We'll even start your training. My training? Sorry, Ren, I mean Sensei. What type of training? You said you wanted to be a hero, right? I'll WHP you into shape so that you really can become one. So tomorrow, crack of dawn. Deal. Yes. I'll see you then, Sensei. Izuku said before he ran home. Oh, don't forget your sweats and some water. Ren watched as Izuku ran off. Once he was out of sight, he looked towards the sky. Now then, Ren said to himself. Once Izuku passed him, All Might peeked around the corner once more only to be blinded by a flash of a bright green light. Jet Ray! The creature from the green light shouted. Jet Ray! The creature from the green light shouted, Where am I gonna sleep for the night? Jet Ray asked himself before flying off. All Might comes out from the shadows and looks at Jet Ray in the sky. So it's true, he really is one of the vigilantes. Or rather, is he all of them? The creatures he transformed into during the sludge villain fight, they all had the same symbol on their chests. Could it be that all of these supposed individuals are really the same person? If that's true, young Midoriya might be in more trouble than I thought, especially if Ren is with him, All Might said to himself before looking in the direction that Izuku ran towards. All Might remembers the day he met Ren, about a week ago from today. He doesn't seem like the kind of person who'd hurt an innocent person. When I first met him, I didn't feel any kind of harmful intent from him. Ren, if you really are all those vigilantes and you've been saving all those people, I don't understand why become a vigilante when you could have gone pro. Top 5 easily as a pro hero. It's my job to catch vigilantes like you and turn them in. All Might then remembers his words to Midoriya on the roof and how distraught he looked when hearing those words. But do I really have a right to stop him? I crushed Midoriya's dream. Ren's doing what I was going to do, offer Midoriya a chance at becoming a hero. What if he's not with him? What if he genuinely wants to help Midoriya? I'll keep an eye on both of them for now, I suppose. But Ren, if you ever cause Midoriya any pain or distress, I swear on my emissary's grave that I'll turn you in myself. Present day, Izuku grabbed the singular piece of toast from his small oven in the kitchen and ran out the door. He began running towards the beach, where his new sensei was waiting, eating his piece of toast along the way. I'm so excited right now I can barely contain myself. It all feels so surreal. Izuku thought to himself as he continued running. At the beach, Ren was leaning against the railings, watching the tides go back and forth onto the beach and listening to the sound of seagulls fly over him and feeling the wind blow in his hair. Next to his right leg was a bag, clearly with something in it. You know, despite being a bit of a backwater planet, there's just something about Earth that seems so peaceful, Ren thought to himself. I could almost see myself staying here forever almost. Appealing view, isn't it? A voice next to Ren asked. Ren looks to his right. A familiar face smiled at him and he returned the gesture. Ren looks to his right. A familiar face smiled at him and he returned the gesture. Oh hey. Toshinori, right? How've you been? Ren asked delightfully. I've been fine, what about yourself, Ren? All Might responded. Been doing well for the most part. What brings you out this early in the morning? Oh, just routine and nostalgia for the most part. When I was young I used to come here for a bit of training and exercise. Really? Never would have imagined you were the type to exercise. Did the beach always look like this? Not always, there would sometimes be a bit of trash here and there, but not this bad. In my day, the coastline was still visible. I've been meaning to do something about it for a while now, but I just can't seem to find the time these days. But enough about me. What brings you out this early? Usually young folk like you tend to sleep in. Well, usually I would be. But today, let's just say I have an appointment with someone. What do you mean? I was actually planning on moving all this trash as a sort of training regimen. Not for me, but for this kid I met yesterday. Ren leans in forward on the railing, looking at the sunrise once more. He's a pretty interesting kid. He's a bit rough around the edges, but he's got a heart of gold. I think like most kids around his age, he wants to become a hero. But he's always made fun of at school because of it. He's a bit soft and I'm willing to bet he's never won an actual fight against anybody before either. Yet he believes so desperately in that dream of his. He must be talking about young Midoriya. This is the perfect opportunity to survey him from afar. All Might thought to himself. Why do through all the effort then? It almost sounds like he's reckless. Why would you risk helping someone like that? Well, I guess it's because I see a bit of myself in him. I know what it's like to be different from everyone else. But unlike him, I had to toughen up on my own. Because where I'm from, it was either toughen up or get eaten up. But then I met my sensei. Despite me being the little shitbag kid I was, he still chose to help me. He changed my life forever. I don't want him to go through anything like that on his own. The thing about him that I admire the most was that no matter how bad the situation gets, you can always guarantee that he'll never run. He's willing to sacrifice everything if it meant just saving one life. I want to give him this training in order to have him survive long enough to save more than just one life. I see, he sounds like a splendid young man. From how you describe him, I'd be proud to call him a hero someday. Well, I hope it all goes well. I'll be heading out now. Someone as old as me would only get in the way. Tell him I said good luck for me. All Might said as he began to leave. Later, Toshinori. Ren replied back, giving a wave. As Toshinori leaves, he turns a corner and once he's sure there's no one else around, he changes into his buff form and jumps onto a nearby roof. One that wouldn't be too far but close enough to watch the two. Now then, time to see what you're really about, All Might thought to himself. A few minutes pass before Ren hears yet another familiar voice. Sensei! Izuku shouted. Good morning. Yo Izuku, you made it? Ren replied. Izuku stops in front of Ren trying to catch his breath. Ren holds out his fist to Izuku. You excited? Ren asked. Of course. Izuku said, returning the fist bump. So, Sensei, what's the first thing we're doing today? Well, first, we gotta get you situated with the proper gear first. Ren replied as he took a strange capsule from the bag near his feet. But Izuku, before I give you this, I have to warn you about something. Izuku looks up at Ren, prepared to listen intently. This gift I'm giving you, it isn't something to be taken lightly. In this capsule is the key to your future, as it was mine once upon a time. It was my 𝙎𝙧𝙮𝙧 before me, now I have the honor of passing this on to my own student. What lies in this capsule is one of the most powerful devices in the galaxy. Even in my time and my 𝙎𝙧𝙮's time, there have been multiple attempts from villains that wanted to use this power for their own selfish purposes. By accepting this, you'll be accepting the responsibility needed to protect this device as well as all the pain and sorrow it may bring. You will need to sacrifice everything you want for the sake of others' well-being. Even your hopes and dreams. Because wearing this doesn't mean you'll just become a hero on Earth, but you must become a hero of the entire galaxy. Now, knowing all of this, will you still accept? Ren asked. A hero of the entire galaxy. Izuku asked. That's a lot to unload on me at once, sensei. Yes, it is not a choice, but a responsibility. Because when you wear this, you represent the entire galaxy, as you are one of the people who will connect every life form in the universe and become a symbol of unity and hope. I need to know if you're ready to accept that. Izuku looks at the capsule with a bit of fear in his eyes. He stares at his reflection in the glistening shine of the metal. So, if I wear this I need to save everyone, not just on Earth, but in the universe, Izuku said to himself. Izuku then remembered the look of Katsuki's face when he was held captive by the sludge villain, how Katsuki was on the verge of tears from suffocating. Sensei, Izuku said. There are other people on different worlds that are suffering as well, right? Just like how ours does. Of course, no planet exists without suffering some form of pain. When I remember how Kaken's face looked when that villain was attacking him, I couldn't help but feel like I had to do something at that moment. At the time, I didn't understand why. Now looking back on it, it was because I knew what that pain felt like, what the fear felt like, and I didn't want anyone to go through that. So, if accepting this means that I can save a lot more people in the galaxy like that, then I won't give a second thought more. I'll save them no matter what. I accept these conditions, sensei. Ren's face broke into a smile, one of pride and joy as he looked at the driven boy in front of him. I knew I liked you from the start, Izuku. All right then, what are you waiting for? Your gift is waiting. Ren exclaimed. Izuku stepped forward and merely touched the top of the capsule, which opens and reveals a glowing green device. Izuku stepped forward and merely touched the top of the capsule, which opens and reveals a glowing green device. Sensei, is this? Izuku asked. Yup. Your very own Omnitrix. What are you waiting for, kid? Izuku reached his left hand out to grab it. In a split second, the Omnitrix jumped from the capsule and attached itself to Izuku's wrist, causing him to scream in fright. It just jumped on its own. Get it off, get it off, get it off. Izuku shouted. Ren started laughing uncontrollably, kneeling to the floor with his stomach in pain. From the rooftop nearby, all Mike could see and hear Izuku shouting in fear as Ren was on the ground laughing. What exactly is happening down there? Oh man, you should see the look on your face right now, Izuku. Get it off, get it off, get it off. Priceless. Ren said, laughing in between tears. Izuku begins to calm down, trying to catch his breath as he stared at the Omnitrix that latched onto his hand. Oh man, now I get why my 𝙎𝙧𝙮 laughed his butt off as well. That was too funny. Ren said, standing up. Wait, that's completely normal. For the most part, yeah. It did that to me when I first wore it too. I apologize for that, kid, couldn't resist. Well, Izuku, congratulations on getting your first Omnitrix and taking the first step to becoming a hero. Izuku's eyes widen with glee and he smiles, staring at the shining metal on the Omnitrix. Alright, now we can get started. Why don't try it out for a spin? What alien should I try out first? Goop. Or that upchuck guy? Maybe Spitter. Oh, maybe that cool yellow guy you turned into yesterday, Shocksquatch. Izuku asked. Slow down, kid. With that Omnitrix, you can change into aliens, yeah, but not the ones I used. I gave you my original 10 aliens just to start with. Just pick one and we'll start your training with that one. Just out of curiosity, sensei, how many aliens can you change into, sensei? Good question. I sorta lost count around 10,583. Over 10,000. And I only get 10. That doesn't seem fair at all. Well, I can always just take it back if you don't like it. No, but I just can't more than 10. You'll get more in the future, I promise, kid, but if I started with 10, so can you. Besides, I'm considered a vigilante. If you started using my aliens, it would only cause problems for you. Well, I suppose that's fair. Look, I promise that you'll get more in the future. But right now, this is just training so you can learn how to use the Omnitrix and the aliens' abilities. Now come on, change into something already. We're burning daylight out here. Alright. Izuku closed his eyes, took a breath, and relaxed his entire body. Rin stood there in confusion, wondering what Izuku was doing. What are you doing, kid? Rin asked. Well, I've seen you transform before. Doesn't it just happen? Like, if you think about it in your mind or something. Izuku asked. Okay, you know what, that one's on me. Ren said as he approached Izuku. I'm able to do that because I have the MSTR control, but since you're not exactly ready for that yet, you gotta hit this button right here. Ren explained as he pushed the button on the side of Izuku's Omnitrix. The dial then pops up, showing a silhouette of a figure in the center of the dial. Whoa, so cool. Izuku said to himself. Oh, we're nowhere near the cool part yet. By turning the dial left or right, you can browse through the selection of aliens available in your Omnitrix. Ren explained. Izuku began to turn the dial of the Omnitrix. As he does, the silhouette in the center changes. Then when you land on an alien you want, you just hit the dial down and bam. Izuku gulps when he finally lands on an alien that looks interesting. Alright, here goes nothing. Izuku slams the dial down and the transformation begins. A bright green flash shines the entire beach as it slowly revealed an alien made of magma and fire. He takes a look at his hands. They were a bright yellow and red. He begins to panic and he looks at his reflection on the nearby glass on the buildings. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. Izuku yelled out frantically. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. Sensei, help me. The transformed Izuku yelled. Oh boy, this going to be a long training session, Rin thought to himself. Calm down. You're not actually burning, you know. Izuku doesn't hear this under the midst of his own screaming, however, continuing to tap his head repeatedly to put out the fire consuming his head. Oh, for God's sake, dash, Rin said before transforming. Water hazard. Water hazard blasts Izuku with a torrent of water, causing him to fall back and scream in pain. One water hazard blasts Izuku with a torrent of water, causing him to fall back and scream in pain. The water, it burns. It burns. Izuku shouted. Water hazard stops firing his torrent and walks towards Izuku. You calm down yet? Like I said, you're not burning. Well, you are, but not in a way that could hurt you. Water hazard said. Izuku, panting, slowly gets up and catches his breath. When he does, the fire on his head reignites and he regains his color. Izuku looks at his hands once more, then his reflection in the glass next to him. He touches his head and the fire. Engulfing it, he truly wasn't getting hurt at all. Is this really me? I'm an alien. Izuku asked. Water hazard then transforms back into his human form and walks closer to Izuku. Yup, that's you alright. Only you could possibly make that high pitch of a scream, even in alien form. This alien here is a Pyronite, an alien from the star Pyros. I call him Heat Blast for simplicity's sake. Heat Blast so cool. Their species can generate and manipulate intense heat and flames from their bodies and even fire them off in a variety of different forms, like a ball or a torrent of flames. They can also enhance the flames on their bodies so that their physical attacks do more damage to their opponent. So cool. Heat Blast is just like the number 2 hero, Endeavor. No, not just cool. I'm hot, Izuku said jokingly. Rin splashes a bit of the leftover water from water hazard on the ground onto Heat Blast, much to his dismay. Focus. Come on, let's head down to the beach and try practicing with Heat Blast. Yes, sensei. Izuku excitedly yelled as he followed Ren. From a nearby rooftop, All Might could not believe what he had just seen. Not only was his suspicions about Rin being all of the vigilantes, but he also witnessed young Midoriya transform into his own creature as well. That's unbelievable. He transformed into that thing. All Might said to himself. Rin, just who exactly are you? What are you trying to do with young Midoriya? Back down on the beach, Izuku was jumping up and down, trying to warm up for the exercise being given to him by Rin. Alright, now try firing a fire blast at that pile of trash right there. Rin explained. How do I do that with heat blast? Izuku asked. A neat function that comes with the Omnitrix is that it downloads the instinct of that alien species when it grabs a sample of its DNA. Think of it as muscle memory or genetic memory specific to that species. Focus, relax, and try to fire a blast. Just trust your instinct and do what feels natural. Rin explained. Izuku takes a deep breath, closes his eyes, and focuses. After about a minute of silence, Heat Blast lifts up his arm and releases a fireball from his hand, exploding the pile of trash into a burst of flames. I did it, sensei. I really did it. Izuku said, jumping up and down. You did great, kid, but now, Rin said as he pointed to the burning pile of trash. You gonna do something about that? Izuku looked over to the rising flame. What do we do? It's going to spread like wildfire at this rate. Relax, this is a good opportunity anyway. Try absorbing it into your body. Heat blast species can also absorb any kind of heat or fire source into their bodies, letting them put out fires in mere seconds while boosting their own flames as well. Just like before, trust your instinct and act. Okay, just trust your instinct, Izuku said before taking yet another deep breath and holding out his arms. After few seconds go by, another small explosion happens in the burning trash, followed by a panicking Izuku. I can't do it. I can't, sensei. I don't want to be responsible for burning down the entire city. Yes, you can, Izuku. Calm down, listen to me. It's just like breathing, you have to feel the fire entering your body like how you feel the oxygen enter yours. You can do this, Izuku. Rin explained. Izuku takes his position again and holds out his arms yet again. He takes multiple deep breaths, feeling the fire as it rose. Before long, the flames from the trash begins to enter Izuku's body. That's it, keep focusing. Izuku continues his breathing, attempting to try and absorb more of the fire. Before he could absorb the rest of the flames, he feels the fire he absorbed building up within him. It felt as if he was trying to hold in a lung full of air and it was ready to burst. Izuku, you okay? Rin shouted out. Before he could answer, the stream created when he was absorbing the fire suddenly bursts apart, causing Izuku to collapse onto his knees in exhaustion and created yet another fire. Izuku! Rin shouted before transforming. A green light flashes next to him and a torrent of water puts out the fire. It was water hazard. Izuku watches as Rin out the fires with ease and looks down in shame. Oh man, that was embarrassing. First I started a fire, then when trying to put it out, created an even bigger fire. Good going, Deku, Izuku said to himself. Don't beat yourself up, it was your first time trying out an alien form. For the most part, you did good all things considered. Rin said, trying to comfort Izuku. But I took a long time firing a blast and couldn't absorb all the flames, Izuku said, staring at his hands. Should something like this really be in my hands? A small gush of water hits Izuku, snapping him out of his moping and coughing up water. A green flash catches his attention as Rin stood in front of the early rising sun. Stop all that moping. Like I said, it was your first time controlling a different form. Do you think it was easy for me when I first used it? Trust me, when I was being trained, I started a way bigger fire than you did. It's like when a baby first learns how to walk, it's difficult at first, but the more you do it, the less you have to think about it. Did you just compare me to a baby? Well, yes. If that baby was about 5 feet 5 inches, on fire and can shoot flames out of its hands. Bottom line, everyone starts somewhere. Nothing's ever perfect on the first try. The fact that you were able to launch a fireball was great for a first time. But still, can I really be a hero like that? Izuku thought to himself. Ren looks at Heat Blast, who was still on his knees, moping at his inability to fully control the form. I got an idea. One that will bring out your potential. A green flash blinds Izuku as Ren's shadow was replaced by a much larger figure, a dark green plant creature with what looks like a flame for a head looms over Izuku. Swampfire. A new transformation. So cool, a new transformation. So cool. Izuku yelled. Maybe you just need some good old-fashioned combat training to understand what I mean. Swampfire asked Izuku as he created fireballs in each hand. Wait. I'm not ready. Izuku yelled. In a real fight, your opponent doesn't care if you're ready or not. Now show me what you're capable of, Izuku. Swampfire yelled before firing a fire blast at Heat Blast, who dodges and runs away. Come on. What's with the running? What kind of hero runs away? All Might, still watching the pair train, was more confused than ever, watching as Swampfire blasted and chasing Heat Blast. Just what exactly are they doing? Just give me a minute. Izuku yelled between dodging Swampfire's blasts. Minute's over, now fight back. Rin yelled, throwing another swarm of fire blasts. He's really not joking, is he? He's really trying to hit me. Isn't this a bit too much for the first day? I can't run forever though, I need to think of something. Heat Blast thought to himself as he continued to dodge. Izuku eventually reaches the end of the line as a huge mountain of trash blocks Izuku in with nowhere left to run. Swampfire slowly approaches Heat Blast, armed with a fireball in each hand. Nowhere left to run, Izuku. Becoming a hero means you'll often face situations where the odds will be stacked against you. You have to learn how to overcome these challenges, whether you're with others or on your own. Izuku stares at the impending doom in front of him. His mind begins to wander and panic, thinking of a way to get out of this situation. Now then, will you run again? Or will you finally act like a hero? Because that kid from yesterday, that kid was a real hero. Is he still in there? In that heart of yours, shackled by years of bullying and insecurity? If he is, I would very much like to meet him, Swampfire asked Heat Blast. At the last minute, Izuku remembers Ren's instruction from earlier today. Think of it as muscle or genetic memory, just trust your instinct and let it loose. Come, Izuku. Show me what you got. Show me that you have what it takes to be a hero. Swampfire yelled out. Heat Blast suddenly releases a torrent of flames from his mouth, surprising Ren, who barely manages to counter it in time with his own torrent. When the stream of flames disappear, a charging Heat Blast forms a large fireball with both of his hands. A direct attack. I don't have time to counter, I have to guard. Ren thought to himself, guarding with both of his arms in front of his face. When it comes to a direct fight against Sensei, I don't have a chance. But if I manage to catch him off guard, even if it's just for a second, I can win. Izuku thought to himself. Please work, please work, please work. Just when it seemed as if Izuku was ready to fire the ball at Ren, he suddenly aimed it down at the ground, turning the ball into a torrent of flame instead that launches him into the sky and over Ren. Ren could only watch in awe and shock, seeing the flying Heat Blast. While still in the air, Izuku quickly looks back and creates an even larger fireball, which he launches at Ren. The impact of the fireball sends Ren flying backwards and into the pile of trash. Heat Blast lands unevenly, falling over onto his back. As he does, he stares at the huge puff of smoke created from his blast. There is a moment of silence accompanied by the simmering of the fires around them. Finally, a shadow of Swampfire emerges from the smoke. Now that was heroic. I knew you could do it. Swampfire said, smiling. Heat Blast smiled back at Ren before being interrupted by a flash of red from the dial on his chest, followed by a loud beeping noise. A flash of red engulfs them both, and the alien hero Heat Blast was now replaced with one Izuku Midoriya. Izuku was a bit confused at first, looking at his hands and touching his legs and chest. I'm normal again. But why? Izuku asked. Swampfire walks towards Izuku while transforming back into his human form. That would be the limiter function on your Omnitrix. Right now, the time limit that you can spend in each transformation is 10 minutes. Huh. Why such a short time? Izuku exclaimed. It's because your body isn't used to the transformations yet, Staying too long in a transformation will have serious side effects on your own DNA. Rin explained. Are you serious? Wait, I won't turn into some kind of mutant, will I? Izuku shouted. Relax, that won't happen. The limiter is there so that doesn't happen to you, all while getting your body used to transforming. Soon, we'll be able to take off the limiter and you'll be able to change as freely as I do. But for now, you'll have to learn how to work around it, timing out as well as the recharge time. But for the most part, Rin offers his hand out to Izuku. You did good, kid. That was what I wanted to see from you. Izuku grabs Ren's hand and lifts himself up. That feeling when you fired a blast, never forget that feeling. That was all you. Izuku said with tears forming in his eyes. But we really need to work on your self-confidence and motivation though. You doubt yourself too much. But, Izuku, I know you can't help it. I bet being a quirkless kid in this society, everybody always picked on you for being different, right? Told you that you were less than worthless. Izuku goes silent as flashbacks of Katsuki's bullying throughout the years flooded his mind. That nickname that he hated so much was louder than any of the painful memories he had. Confidence is important in a situation, as it helps stop you from hesitating. In the world of heroes, even a single moment of hesitation will get someone killed. I don't mean to sound all gloom and doom, but it's the truth. So I got an idea for motivation. You mentioned you wanted to go to a hero school, right? Oh yes. The best hero school in Japan, where All Might graduated from. Then how about this? If you manage to beat me in a fight while we're in alien form before the day of the entrance exams, I'll gift you a brand new alien. Really? A new alien? But the entrance exams isn't for another 10 months. Then that's good news for you. You can get 10 months worth of training and have 10 months to beat me even once. What do you say, Izuku? Deal. Why yes. It's a deal, sensei. Plus, come on then, we still got a lot of more training to do today. Until your Omnitrix recharges, let's focus on your hand-to-hand combat skills for when you time out. You ready? Izuku smiles and takes Ren's hand. He stands and looks him in the eye. Yes, sensei. Izuku replied. Attaboy. Ren replied. On the rooftops, All Might continued to watch silently, looking at the smile on Izuku's face. Time skipped to about a month after Izuku received his Omnitrix from Ren. In this time frame, Izuku has managed to at least get used to transforming into the aliens. They have been practicing Izuku's alien abilities as well as his hand-to-hand combat skills, with a bit of free running and parkour in his human form. The beach is also a bit more cleaner than when they first started, as Ren made Izuku clean up the trash in his human form as a way to build up stamina and strength. Sounds of fighting could be heard throughout the early morning as two huge figures on the beach clash with each other. One with red skin and 4 arms while the other one that looks like a dinosaur. Izuku, Ren, for Ren. They exchange blow for blow with the fight clearly being in the dinosaur's favor, as he continues to push the red man back with each attack. 3. They exchange blow for blow with the fight clearly being in the dinosaur's favor, as he continues to push the red man back with each attack. Don't rely on just your punches. 4 arms has superhuman strength. Use that to its fullest potential. Use every arm. Give each of them a purpose. Use anything you can. The dinosaur said as he punched the 4 arms in the chest, sending him flying back into a pile of trash. 4 arms attempts to get back up by rolling over. He then sees a large chunk of metal and grabs it. Using 2 of his 4 hands, he swings the chunk of metal at the dinosaur, causing him block instinctively. With his free hands, 4 arms then punches the dinosaur hard. The dinosaur slides back a significant distance. 4 arms charges at the dinosaur. The dinosaur blocks 4 arms attack and they seem to be at a standstill, not giving the other an inch. That's what I'm talking about. You're really coming along, Izuku. The dinosaur said with a smile. It's all thanks to your teaching, sensei. Now, today's the day I finally win. 4 arms yelled with excitement. You remember your promise, right? If I beat you before the day of the entrance exams, you'll give me a new alien. I'm a man of my word, Izuku. And today would be the day you win, if you didn't forget one little detail. The dinosaur then proceeds to grow even larger with the scales along its spine popping out. The dinosaur manages to push 4 arms back and back even further down. Finally, one shift motion of the dinosaur's tail sweeping 4 arms feet up causes 4 arms to fall backwards, putting him under the dinosaur's palm. Humongousaur's got a tail and ain't afraid to use it. The dinosaur said to 4 arms who was groaning. Humongousaur lifted his hand up and a loud beeping followed by a red flash soon revealed an exhausted Izuku, still rubbing his head as he sat up. He was shirtless but wore sweatpants with track shoes. His upper body had began to show slight signs of muscle from all the trash he cleaned up. Oh man, that makes 45 losses in a row. Rin transforms back into his human form as he approached Izuku. Hey, you did good. 4-armed species are physically stronger than humongousaurs. You used that strength to take advantage of your surroundings and caught me a bit off guard. You're improving, Izuku. Rin extends his hand to which Izuku takes and lifts himself up with. Rin then walks over to a duffel bag nearby and grabs 2 water bottles out from it, tossing one to Izuku which he fumbles and barely catches. It's only been 3 weeks since we started. You're a fast learner. Just remember, instinct can only take you so far. Learn to think outside of the basics, use your surroundings. Turn your opponent's strengths into weaknesses. Got it? Izuku replied as he opened his water and drank it all down. What do you say we take a break for now, Izuku? I could use a break right now, yeah, Izuku said before turning to the view of the ocean and laying down on the sand. Rin walks to Izuku's side and sits down, admiring the appealing ocean. Hey sensei. Izuku asked. What's up? When you met me again, after the sludge villain attack you said that you were from a different world, right? Right, even though I am human, I wasn't born on Earth. So what was your home like? Or the planet you lived on? There is a moment of silence that was only filled with the crashing of waves in the ocean. Compared to Earth, it's a hellhole made for the worst type of people from all across the universe. My time here on Earth is probably the most peaceful planet I've visited by far. Izuku doesn't say a word as he listened intently. The planet I'm from is called Vilgodon, a planet with no concrete laws or heroes. Crime is ever rampant with no hope of it ever going down. It was like a utopia for criminals where the ones with the biggest gangs ruled. My mother was a human, but I don't know about my father. Considering that I wasn't born with some weird alien mutation, it's safe to assume that he was a human too. According to the orphanage I was put into, she was a part of an intergalactic police force known as the Plumbers, but something happened that caused her to go on the run as a fugitive. Ren takes off his gloves and look at the scars on his hands. Izuku stares at the multiple cuts on Ren's hand as well. Growing up human on an alien planet is almost as bad as being quirkless on Earth. I didn't have any special abilities compared to all the other alien kids at the orphanages, so I was often bullied. Izuku's eyes widened slightly, staring at his sensei's bright smiling face as he recalled his own experience with bullying. How did you deal with it all? Oh, I fought back one day, of course. Beat them all to a pulp. Rin said, holding his fist up. They didn't expect a thing. From that day on, they gave me the nickname the BLD Wolf. Izuku scoots away from his sensei a bit out of fear. After that, I just never stopped fighting. Whether someone challenged me directly or if someone looked at me wrong, I'd always choose to answer with my fists rather than my words. A few years later, even took over a gang on Vilgodon. Renamed ourselves to the Red Hunters. Why, you were a gang leader, sensei. Is it really that surprising? No. It's just, I can't imagine you as a gang leader. Even when I first met you, you were kind and empathetic, so it's just a bit of a surprise is all. Must be losing my edge, I guess. But you know I probably would have continued spiraling down that dark path, if it wasn't for him. Who's sensei? Ben 10,000. Ben 10,000. Yeah, the greatest hero in the entire galaxy. The true hero of heroes. He was originally from Earth too. He got the Omnitrix when he was only 10 years old. Since then, he had been using it to save and help people all over the universe. So young. He was to me what All Might is to you. Everyone admired him. People from across the galaxy would always gossip about his achievements and how he used the Omnitrix to protect the galaxy from villains. So, how did you meet your sensei then? Well, It was when I was your age actually. I was still leader of the Red Hunters. We had just taken a huge score from an intergalactic transport carrying some high-level tech. Flashback, 11 years ago, in a certain camouflaged ship on Vilgodon, there was a plethora of aliens all dressed in red leather jackets playing around with high-level blasters and weapons and celebrating their big score. Look at this beauty. You definitely wouldn't find that anywhere else on this rock. We're frickin' rollin' in all this tech. And it's all thanks to our boss. They all look at their leader. A 14-year-old Ren was sitting on the railings 3 levels above them, looking out the window at the 3 moons in the sky. He wore a long and dark red coat, signifying his position as leader of the Red Hunters. Still don't know how I feel about taking orders from a brat. Don't forget that Brat is the one who took down Rogova for his position as leader. Still can't believe Rogova got his but handed to him by a human, a teenage human no less, the grunts whispered among themselves. As Rin sat by himself, still staring at the moons beyond. A large humanoid fish-like alien with a tank of water on his head approaches Ren. He too sported a long red coat and a blaster in his hands. You seem awfully quiet today, Ren, the humanoid fish said. Shouldn't you be down there, celebrating with the rest of the crew? This was a good haul. Ren remains silent. He leaps off of the railing and walks closer towards the glass. He places his hand over the 2 moons and stared at the stars. Something on your mind? Ren remains silent once more. Finally, he takes his hand off of the glass. That was too easy. Ren mutters. What? That whole heist, didn't it seem too easy? The moment we attacked, the only reinforcements on the transport were the pilots and only 3 guards. It's hard to believe that they at least didn't attempt to call for backup. Maybe the plumbers didn't expect such an attack from Vilgodon. We have many gangs here, but none of them are suited to take down an entire convoy ship. That's probably what the plumbers thought. The Jagged Claw gang from the 34th district gave us more resistance than that transport did, and the Jagged Claw gang were composed of literal morons. No, the plumbers aren't that careless. This transport was carrying 4 tons of level 10 tech. They would have placed more guards to better protect it. So why was there only 5 people on the entire convoy? You're thinking too much about it. This is the score of a lifetime. We have enough to keep for ourselves and make a huge profit at the same time. With these weapons, we'll be able to take over the entire area. Ren ignores the alien's comments and walks closer to the window. If they were going to put such light security on that convoy of high-level tech, they may as well have put it out on a steel one, get 1 free deal unless Ren quickly turns around to his alien comrade and takes the blaster from his hands. Hey! The fish yelled. Ren breaks the blaster over his knee and rips off the plating on the side, revealing a red blinking tracker underneath. What is that? The fish asked. Ren quick turns to his crew and leans over the railing. Battle stations. Ren yelled moments before the ship is attacked by missiles. The entire ship leans to the right, causing everyone to fall and tumble, some accidentally firing off their weapons due to the momentum. Ren manages to hold onto the railing and catches his alien fish comrade's hand, saving him from a tall fall. I got you. Signal the entire ship, we're under attack. The fish alien tries to contact the communication hub, only to receive static in response. Communications are down. They took out our antennas. The ship soon reorients itself, and from the top of the ship, sparks and lasers pierce through the metal, making a circle. The circle metal drops from the top and squads of plumbers began to enter. One man in particular drops down and takes a look around the ship. He wore a white shirt with a black streak down the middle, green cargo pants and a modified Omnitrix. No way that's. The grunts whisper. Ben 10,000, Ren finished. Secure the ship and round up all the tech boys. I want to have a word with this so-called BLD Wolf. Plus, secure the ship and round up all the tech boys. I want to have a word with this so-called BLD Wolf. The man said. No way it's Ben 10,000. What's he doing here? The grunts whispered. You couldn't have been even a little more discreet, Ben. A female voice echoed through the ship. More people land in from the hole in the ceiling, 1 male and female. What's the big deal, Gwendolyn? It was going to break out into a huge fight anyway. Tennyson just sped things up a bit. We could have done this nice and quiet, Kevin, and you know it. Gwen replied. 5. We could have done this nice and quiet, Kevin, and you know it. Gwen replied. Yeah, but this way's more fun. Kevin replied. Oh, CRP. It's Gwen and Kevin Levin, the leader of the Rooters. The grunts whispered. So this is their little getaway, huh? I'm not going to lie, I kind of expected more from the famous Red Hunters. Ben commented. Yeah, heard some talk about this gang doing some of the most dangerous gigs around this part of the galaxy. Please everyone, stay calm. Let's handle this rationally, please. Gwen announced. A grunt then tries to fire at Gwen. Rationalize this. The grunt yelled. But their blasters power down, rendering them useless. Kevin quickly grabs the gun and punches the grunt, knocking him out. Don't ever point your gun at my wife ever again. Kevin yelled. Drop all your weapons, hands behind your heads, and kneel. The plumber soldiers commanded. Most of the grunts dropped their weapons and do as they say while others resisted. Like hell we will. What are you all doing? This is our score, you're just gonna let these pigs take that away from us. What could we possibly do, you moron? They shut down our weapons. Don't make this any worse for us. The remaining grunts then kick their weapons over to the plumbers and kneel. There is a moment of silence among the grunts as they all share looks with one another, unsure of what to do next. Don't try anything funny. Trust me, it won't end well for any of you or your leader. Speaking of, where is this famed BLD Wolf? Heard he took over an entire continent of gang-infested areas. He's the reason why you were able to manage a heist of this capacity, right? Ben asked. Yeah, last I checked, a guy named Rogova was in charge, but they were under a different name at the time. Crimson something. They were just a small gang like the rest, nothing special about them. Gwen then walks over to one of the grunts and kneels to their eye level. Look, I'm sorry for my associate's behavior, but do you know what happened to Rogova, your old leader? Our Rogova was sent to the null void by our new leader. Hey, shut your mouth. What are you thinking, telling them that? So, you guys even managed to snag a null void projector, huh? Gotta admit, this was more out of hand than I thought, Ben said. The plumbers began to handcuff the grunts one by one. Levels above them, Ren and his fish companion were watching the scene unfold. Of all the galaxies to patrol, it had to be this one. What are we going to do, Commander? Ren observed Ben silently, watching him pace back and forth. He then looks at the Omnitrix on Ben's wrist. Sir. Ren finally steps back from the railing and takes a deep breath. If we go down there, even both of us wouldn't be enough to take him down. Not while he has the Omnitrix and his crew. Ren takes out his mask and puts it on, popping his hood up over it. He also puts on a pair of black and white gloves with a red crystal on them. So, what's the plan, 7? What's the plan? Fisk asked. We going to make a last stand. Ren does not reply as he stares at Ben. Gwen, think you can track him? Ben asked. Gwen closes her eyes and begins to float. I don't know if that's him or not, but I am sensing a weird energy coming towards us, right? Ren then lands right behind Ben, who turns around immediately and looks at Ren. Kevin and Gwen also turn to look at Ren. There, Bill Wolf, I take it? Ben said. Boss. Oh, you guys are so screwed now. The grunts yelled. You sure know how to make an entrance. Kevin commented. The legendary Ben 10,000 wielder of the Omnitrix, savior of the universe, and others, hey. Gwendolyn yelled to Ren. To what do I owe the pleasure of your visit? Ren replied. Straight to the point, huh? I like that. Almost thought you were a coward hiding in the shadows like that. Kevin commented. Who the hell are you calling a coward? Ren replied. Kevin, couldn't you even act a bit more mature? Gwen replied. What? It's called banter. Where's your sense of drama? Gwendolyn. Tell you what, Mr. BLD Wolf. How about you come with us, answer for your crimes, and save us all the trouble of having to catch you? If you do that, then I promise that the prison food you'll receive will be much better than the usual slop. Ben said tauntingly. Crimes? What crimes? Ren said as he charged his gloves. You stole a whole convoy of plumber tech. What do you mean, what crimes? I'm afraid you're mistaken, Gwendolyn. In a world with no laws, there can exist no crime. It's only a crime in your eyes because something of yours was stolen. This guy's getting on my nerves. How about we skip all the talking and get straight to the punching? Kevin yelled as he absorbed the metal on the floor, creating a metal armor around his body. Now you're speaking my language. You want me? Come and get me. Ren yelled. You asked for it. Kevin yelled as he charged at Ren. Kevin, wait, something's not right. Gwen yelled, but too late. Ren charges towards Kevin, both ready to strike. Their fists clash, sending Kevin flying back through a wall. How'd you like that, Kevin? You want some dessert next to that concussion? A purple energy construct then grabs Ren, lifting him up into the air. Ren looks down and sees it's Gwen casting the construct. Just come quietly and no one will get hurt. Gwen yelled as her eyes glowed purple. Sorry, but not my style. Ren yelled as he releases 3 stun grenades. From his belt. They explode, blinding everyone in the room except for Ren. Gwen loses her focus and releasing her construct. Ren then charges up his gloves again and releases a kinetic blast from his gloves, launching Gwen back into a wall. Kevin gets up just in time to see Gwen falling. Gwen! Kevin yelled as he jumped into the air, catching Gwen in his arms. Gwen, you okay? Gwen rubs her head in pain and looks up at Kevin. I'll be alright, thanks for the save, Gwen answered. All squads, fire. The plumbers yelled as they ran in front of Ben, immediately firing their blasters, to which Ren dodges with ease. The crystal on Ren's gloves began to glow and hum as he punches one of the plumbers, sending him flying all the way back into the wall of the ship. He does the same to 3 more plumbers, sending them crashing into all sorts of crates and debris on the ship. Kick their asses, boss. Show them who they're messing with. Who's next? Ren yelled out. The other plumbers were prepared to fire, but Ben holds out his arms, signaling them to stop. Alright, try to do this the civil way, but what the heck? Ben said as he transformed into an alien. Alright, try to do this the civil way, but what the heck? Ben said as he transformed into an alien. I could use the exercise. Don't worry, boys, this one's mine. Hope you're ready for a bit of kick and hawk. Ben said as he charged at Ren. Kevin, Gwen, cover me. Gwen and Kevin nod as they run towards Ben. I'll take all of you on. Come and get some. Ren yelled out as he charged towards the 3. Kick and Hawk and Ren are now locked in combat, exchanging blow after blow, looking for an opportunity for an advantage. Kick and Hawk kicks at Ren's face, to which he blocks. To Ren's surprise, however, Kick and Hawk jumps up using Ren's arm as leverage, then spin kicks Ren's side, sending him sliding across the floor. Ren quickly recovers and focuses on Kick and Hawk. However, to his right, Kevin, who was in a metal coating, begins swinging with his arm that was shaped like a blade. Ren dodges backwards only to be met with purple energy discs that were fired from Gwen. Ren gets hit with Gwen's energy discs and stumbles backwards. Kick and Hawk leaps in Ren's direction once more, releasing his talons and swiping at Ren, who rolls under Kick and Hawk to dodge. Ren throws a punch, to which Kick and Hawk counters with a kick followed by another swipe of his talons. Ren blocks the attack and they are locked into a stalemate. They stare at each other for a moment, trying to gain any kind of footing advantage. Not a bad right hook. You're clearly used to hand-to-hand combat. But you're telegraphing all your moves. I can see what you're going to do before you even know what you want to do. Breaking the silence, Ren screams and headbutts Kick and Hawk's face, causing Kick and Hawk to stumble backwards. Ren then immediately throws a punch, to which Kick and Hawk catches Ren's fists. Ren smirks, however, as a low humming came from his gloves, releasing a kinetic blast that sends Kick and Hawk sliding back. How's that for telegraphing? Ren said, smiling under his mask. Kevin then slams the ground, causing the ship to shake and knock everyone off balance. Ren slams the ground as well, using the kinetic energy stored in his gloves to counteract the shockwave from Kevin. What the? Kevin yelled before meeting Ren's fist with his face, sending him crashing into a crate on the ship. Kevin! Gwen yelled out. He countered Kevin's shockwave with a shockwave of his own. He might be smarter than we thought. 𝙎𝙬𝙧𝙮 tries to regain his balance quickly, but Rin rushes at him, landing a punch in 𝙎𝙬𝙧's gut, along with a high kick to his face, causing 𝙎𝙬𝙧's head to fling upwards. Ben stumbles back even further, holding his beak in pain. Rin then grabs 𝙎𝙬𝙧's legs and begins to spin rapidly. He lets go of 𝙎𝙬𧧧, launching him towards Gwen, who catches him. "Oh, I think I'm gonna puke." From behind Ben, however, Rin appears and prepares to strike. Gwen manages to put up a shield just before Rin attack. The strike, however, breaks through her shield and sends both Ben and Gwen flying down onto the floor. Rin gets into a fighting stance and faces 𝙎𝙬𧧧, who was slowly getting up, rubbing his head in pain. "Guess you're a bit above 𝙎𝙬𧧧's pay grade. Why don't you try on something a bit more heavyweight?" 𝙎𝙬𧧧 explained just before he is enveloped by a green flash. "Why don't you try on something a bit more heavyweight?" 𝙎𝙬𧧧 explained just before he is enveloped by a green flash. "Let's see if you can handle 4 arms." Ren and Ben begin to circle each other, neither one breaking eye contact. So this is the great Ben 10,000 and his team. Doesn't seem like much considering how easily your friends all went down. I'm not going to lie, I'm impressed by your skills. Gwen and Kevin aren't easy to fight against, you know, especially when we're all together like this. Seemed pretty easy to me. Maybe they're just weak. Oh, but weaklings in love. That sure changes things, doesn't it? I don't know why you even keep them around. They're practically crutches at this point. Crutches, huh? Well, you'd know all about those, considering you're about to get some. 4 arms then clapped all 4 of his arms together, creating a shockwave that sends Rin flying back against the ship's wall. Rin shakes his head in pain before looking up, only to see a metal beam flying at him. Rin quickly jumps off of the wall and punches the beam, snapping it in 2, only to be met with a charging Kevin, who grabs him and slams him down to the ground. Kevin attempts to hold down Ren and meets a punch in the gut from Ren. Ren kicks Kevin and backs away, doing a backflip. "How is he this strong?" 4 Arms asked. "He's got some weird energy surrounding him. I can sense it," Gwen replied. "It's those crystals on his gloves. They're from Karos, the home world of the Tetramans. That crystal is supposed to be imbued with the strength of their species. On their planet, they use it as a power source, but when others use it, they gain the strength of a Tetramand," Kevin explained. "Very intuitive. I see someone's an alien techie. Now the question is, what are you all going to do about it?" Rin replied. "Kevin, I got an idea, but I need you to distract him for a bit. Try to hold him in one place if you think you can do that," 4 Arms whispered. "Leave it to me," Kevin said as he absorbed a new metal to replace his chipped metal. "All right, ready for round 2. Kevin charges towards Ren and begins to fight him. A green flash covers Ben as he transforms into a new alien once more. "Gwen, how much mana can you charge up in the next few minutes?" Ben asked. "Gwen, how much mana can you charge up in the next few minutes?" Ben asked. "Using my current limits as a gauge, about 20%. Gwen replied. "What's your plan?" "You'll see, start charging up." Kevin and Ren exchange blow after blow. Kevin is at a bit of a disadvantage as we clearly see who is more cunning than the other. Kevin may have experience, but Ren is clever when fighting and he uses that to the fullest potential. "Come on, Levin, that all you got? Why don't you absorb Ben's Omnitrix and go psycho again? At least that way you'll put up more of a challenge." "You talk too much," Kevin said just before managing to land a hit on Ren. In that mere moment, Kevin grabs a hold of Ren's right hand and crushes the crystal on his gauntlet, which released an electrical. "Now you're only half a poser," Kevin said before grabbing Ren from behind. Ren attempts to use the other gauntlet to break free, but it proves to be too weak to harm Kevin now. "Sorry, kid, each crystal has about half of a Tetraman's strength. With only 1 left, you're only half as strong. But with that, I can take anything you throw at me." "Let me go," Ren yelled. "Ben, how's it looking over there?" "Gwen, you ready?" "All set." "All right, give it to me." Gwen fires a blast of mana at Ben, who absorbs it with ease. "Now Kevin." "Last stop, Loserville," Kevin said as he launched Ren towards Ben. Ben then releases the stored energy in his body and fires a beam at the flying Ren. Ren is pushed back into the wall and falls to the ground, in pain and unable to move. Ben transforms back into his human form and the three make their way to Ren. Ren turns over onto his back, groaning in pain as the three tower over him. Kevin takes off Ren's undamaged glove and crushes it with his hands. Gwen then restrains his hands and holds him up against the wall. "Don't try anything this time. I won't be so nice next time," Gwen said to Ren. Ren continues to struggle against Gwen's hold on him, but to no avail. Then from his earpiece, he hears Fisk's voice. "I'm in the central hub, boss. EMP rigged to trigger in 15 seconds. Give it up, BLD Wolf. You put up a good fight but you lost, it's over. Time to turn yourself in," Ben said as he took Ren's mask off. Ben is taken aback as he saw Ren's face, as did the other three. They all realize at the same time that Ren was just a teenager, a human teenager at that. You're just a kid." But, Ben commented, "A kid gave us that much trouble. I thought the BLD Wolf was an alien, or at least an adult. Oh no, we just launched a fully charged energy blast at him," Gwen said, holding her hand over her mouth. "Why would you fight us so fiercely like that? Why would you even try to fight us to begin with? There was no way you could win." Ren smiles as he plans his next attack. "Never planned on winning, just had to distract you long enough for this." The ship begins to shake and rock as an EMP blast was released. The plumber's gear and equipment began to spark and malfunction, causing the plumbers to get electrocuted and pass out. The HNDCFFS on the grunts malfunction as well, causing them to deactivate and set them free. The plumbers' ships outside begin to panic as well as their equipment begins to malfunction. What is this? I can't get a read on anything. It's some kind of EMP attack. All communications are down. Trackers are down as well. We've lost all visual of the ship. Then, a voice within the Red Hunter's ship broadcasts an announcement. "All able bodies, evacuate to the back of the ship immediately. This is an order from the vice captain of the Red Hunters. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Evacuate immediately. Leave any and all weapons behind." The grunts do not hesitate and run to the back of the ship. "What's going on?" Kevin yelled out. Just before Ren confronted the three, "So, what's the plan?" Fisk asked, "We're going to make a last stand." Ren pauses for a moment, looking at the trio down on the first level. "I'm going to fight them," Ren replied. "What? No offense, Captain, but even you can't win against those three. They saved the entire universe after all. How are you going to win?" "Not going to. Just distract them a bit." I don't understand," Fisk replied. "What's the saying? A captain goes down with his ship. It's been a hell of a ride, Fisk, but this is where we part ways. Starting tomorrow, you'll be the second-generation captain and new leader of the Red Hunters." Ren explained. "What?" Fisk replied in shock. "I'm going to distract them long enough for you to make your way to the central hub and launch an EMP attack. But that would take out our own ship, wouldn't it? That's why you'll lock on to the plumber's gear's frequency. The EMP will fry their visuals, communications, trackers, etc. When you launch it, disconnect from the main ship and take everyone to the rendezvous planet we talked about. The EMP won't be enough to take down their ships, but last long enough for you all to make your escape. But couldn't we just take them all down once their gear is fried? No, can't risk bringing on more heat than we already have. Rather see the Red Hunters live another day than start an intergalactic war with the plumbers and lose miserably. No, I won't leave without you. Can't you just come with us?" "Without you, the Red Hunters," Fisk argued before being cut off by Ren, "will be just fine. You're just as capable of a leader as I am, Fisk. I have full confidence that you'll lead them all to something greater." "But what will happen to you?" Ren holds out his hand to Fisk, smiling under his mask. "Thanks for everything, Fisk." Fisk stares at his friend's hand before shaking it with both of his hands. I'll do my best, I know you will." Present. "So, this was your plan, you were stalling so that the others could get away?" Ben yelled. "Took you long enough to figure out, old man," Ren replied weakly. "I may not be able to win against you, but I can lose and lose again and again, long enough for everyone to escape, Ben." Gwen yelled out. Ben transforms into another alien and runs to the door. As quickly as he got there, Ben changes into 4 arms once more. As quickly as he got there, Ben changes into 4 arms once more. Ben pulls the door off of the doorway, only to be met with the sight of a detached ship flying away and crashing ocean waves. Ben pulls the door off of the doorway, only to be met with the sight of a detached ship flying away and crashing ocean waves. Plus, checkmate, Ren said weakly before passing out from his injuries. A week after the raid on the Red Hunters, Ren sits in an interrogation room in the Plumbers. He's heavily handcuffed from his wrists to his ankles. He sits and stares at Kevin, who is yelling at him at the top of his lungs. "I'm not joking around, kid. Where did they go?" Kevin yelled. "You do understand how a secret location works, right? It's a secret because you don't tell anyone about it. SHT for brains." Ren replied. "What did you call me? What, are you ugly and deaf too? I can see why you're with Gwen now, because she evens out that pea-sized brain of yours. Don't push me, kid. That's a Kevin. Go psycho again. At least that way, I'll have a legitimate reason to kill you." Ren and Kevin's foreheads pushes up against each other, exchanging glares at each other as they growl, both wanting to do something but unable to do to their positions. On the other side of the one-way mirror, Gwen, Ben and a small gray-like frog was on Ben's shoulder were watching the scene unfold. Gwen's eyes were glowing purple as a piece of cloth hovered in her hand. "Anything?" Ben asked. "Nothing," Gwen replied. "Wherever they went, it must be far enough that I can't detect them anymore. Oh well, not like they made off with anything of high value anyway. All of the tech is present and accounted for, their leaders in custody as well. So let's just chalk that up as a win," Ben replied. Ben looks at Ren once more, who was still arguing with Kevin. "So this is the person who nearly made off with all of my tech?" The gray frog-like alien said. "So this is the person who nearly made off with all of my tech?" The gray frog-like alien said, "Yup, the BLD wolf," Ben replied. "A mere human teenager, in this reach of the galaxy. I didn't expect the BLD wolf to be so young," Gwen commented. "Do we have anything on who he is?" Ben asked. "Only some outdated files from the orphanage on Vilgodon," Gwen replied, pulling up a holographic screen with Ren's information. The picture showing Ren was when he was about 10, he was covered in bandages and scars. His name's Ren Zark. By the Earth calendar standards, he was born on December 31, 2122. Given up at BRH by one Maria Zark. Zark, the agent that went full ghost on us 14 years ago. That's her kid. Yup, the same Maria that helped her convict husband escape the null void. Given up at BRH. Wait, so Ren doesn't even know his parents. I would assume not. No. Wow, he has quite the rep sheet. I mean, just look at this. Gwen passes the hollow screen over to Ben. 20 counts of aggravated assaults, 17 counts of grand theft auto, terrorism acts on more than one occasion, illegal possession and trading of alien weapons. All this, just before the age of 15. Ben looks up at Ren again. Kevin throws his hands in the air and walks out while Ren laughs and sits back down. Kevin enters through the door next to them and joins them. "I swear, if I wasn't part of the Plumbers, I'd teach that kid a thing or two." "Calm down, Kevin. He's just a kid, don't let him get to you." Kevin looks at Ren, who was sitting with a satisfied smirk on his face. "To think that a kid was able to give us so much trouble." "Well, you specifically, Kevin. Right? Like he didn't swing, kick and hawk around like a rag doll." "Still, you have to admit the way he fought, it was impressive above all. He held his own for a while. He knew he couldn't win, yet he fought us to ensure the escape of his gang." "Well, you a fan of his now?" Kevin remarked. "I'm just saying, kid's got talent but focused in all the wrong places, wouldn't you agree? If he had proper training, just imagine how far he could go, Ben." "He's a criminal," Gwen replied. "A planet full of the worst possible aliens throughout the galaxy, and he's the only one that's a criminal." Gwen is about to retort, but stops herself upon thinking about Ben's words. Ben puts his hands in his pockets and stares at the boy. "All I'm saying is, if you were born and raised on a planet full of criminal scum and surrounded by all that crime, could you really say you would still be a hero?" Ben turns to look at Kevin. "Kevin, this kid isn't that different from you either, you know." "What?" I'm nothing like this kid. Think about it, surrounded by criminals at a young age, forced to adapt to his surroundings in order to survive. Everyone thought you were nothing but trouble either, but then the plumbers gave you a chance, showed you the right way, surrounded by people who grew to care and depend on you. Now look at you, one of the top commanders of the plumbers. But Ren, he doesn't have anyone. No mom, no dad, no siblings. I doubt he barely even knows the worth of a true friend either. Kevin looks at Ren to see him sit quietly. The smirk on his face is gone and his hair covered his eyes as he looked down at the table. Ben, I understand that you feel pity for him. But it doesn't change what he did, everything he did. Gwen replied. He only did what he had to in order to survive in a world with no hope, Gwendolyn. How could you blame him for that? On Vilgodon, there's no other way to survive. Gwen looks at Ren as well. Ren has not moved since Kevin left. You saw what he did, didn't you? I mean, how many gang leaders do you know that would risk their own life and freedom like that for their gang? What kind of leader would go for self-sacrifice play like that for members that probably wouldn't do the same for him? I know, but what can we do? I'm telling you, this kid's got the makings of something great. But he needs to focus on what's right. Someone to guide him towards the right path. The boy's circumstances are truly rather unfavorable. To be destined to lose from the start. But the law is the law, Ben. We cannot alter it for any one person, no matter how tragic their story. Asmith commented. Asmith, even you. Everyone in this universe has a choice that they can make at any point in their life. To give in to the circumstances that surrounds them, or to rise above it all and be greater than the hand you were given. Rin clearly has made that choice, I must say. It's a rather disappointing choice. I would have liked to see the kind of person he would be if he had chosen the latter, Asmith replied. Ben looks at Rin once more. He then lifts up his Omnitrix and stares at it for a long time. He makes a fist with his other arm and grips it. No, he hasn't. Not yet. Ben said. What do you mean? Gwen asked. Can you really call it making a decision if you were only given one option with no way out? Ren's still got a decision to make. He just needs to see his options. Ben looks at Asmith. Asmith, I need to talk to you. In the interrogation room, Ren exhales loudly and looks up at the light in the room. I wonder if they all made it out okay, Ren thought to himself. He looks at the cuffs on his wrists and ankles. Well, all I can do is hope that they did. Fisk, I hope you're managing all right. The door to the interrogation room opens. Ben steps through with Asmith on his shoulder and sits down at the chair across from him. Asmith jumps down from Ben's shoulder onto the table. Wow, the great Ben 10,000's interrogating me now. Hope you're a bit better at being bad cop than your friend out there. Ben simply looks at Ren quietly, not responding to his taunts. Who's this shorty? You got a staring problem, little guy. Ren said with a smirk. How dare you? I am Asmith, the smartest being in 3, presumably 5 galaxies. Creator of the Omnitrix and the first thinker. Yet you're like 5 inches tall. You ignorant little. Let it go, Asmith. Ren looks at Ben with a blank expression. Ben pulls up the holo screen showing his profile on Ren. This is quite the rep sheet you have. Hard to believe you committed all these acts at such a young age. Between you and me, I'm a bit impressed. I mean, taking over an entire continent by yourself is no easy feat. You knew how to defeat all of the gangs in the area like it was a game of chess. Don't talk to me like we're friends, old man. You don't know anything about me. I know more than you might think. Renzark, you were born on December 31st of 2122 and given up for adoption by your mother. When you were 8 years old, you committed your first crime with an aggravated assault against a bike shop owner, followed by your second crime of grand theft auto and stealing a hoverbike. Rin chuckles a bit when reminded of this event. Wow, you can read. I'm impressed. Rin said sarcastically. Really? Then you'll be more impressed by this. Ben pulls up a profile of a woman with long silver hair and red eyes. She seemed to be wearing a plumber's uniform. What am I supposed to be looking at? This is Maria Zark, a former plumber agent that was active 14 years ago before completely ghosting us. 14 years ago, isn't that how old you are now? Weird coincidence. So what? This woman is supposed to be my mom or something. I see your powers of deduction are truly a spectacle to behold. 𝙎𝙧𝙮 commented. If you're trying to get a confession out of me using her, then you're wasting your time. Never met the woman nor do I want to. You won't get anything out of me, so why don't you just save yourself the time and send me to prison already? Oh no, I didn't show you your mother because I was trying to play on your emotions. I showed you her because I wanted you to compare your situations. What? Rin replied. Your mother was once one of the top agents the plumbers had. She was next in line to take over command once Kevin either stepped down or bit the dust. However, at some point, she met your father whose name we still don't know. You know how the story goes after that. They fell for each other, had a kid, then she betrayed the entire force and used the null void projector to pull your dear old dad out of the null void mere months after we put him in there. 𝙎𝙧 explained, Wow, I'm so touched. A love story, my favorite. Rin said sarcastically as he sat back in his chair. Please just kill me before I choke on my own vomit. This isn't a joke, kid. Unlike your mother, you don't have even a slight chance of getting away from us. Ben explained. With a rep sheet like yours, you won't be heading to prison. We're looking at a null void imprisonment for life. Now, unlike your father, I doubt you have a girlfriend that's willing to bust you out. Ren remains silent as he locks eyes with Ben, who then smiles slightly at Ren. But you're a real lucky kid. During our fight back on the ship, you really shocked me, you know. Your combat skills were full of talent and experience, but lacked discipline and patience. I thought with just a bit more training, you could become a force to be reckoned with. What are you getting at? It'd be a shame to see such talent rotting away inside the null void. I'd much rather you put your skills to use here. Ren remains silent, slowly brewing with anger on the inside but managing to keep calm and collected. With some training and rehabilitation, you'd make an excellent plumber agent. So what do you say, Ren? Wanna join up? Ben said before being interrupted by the sound of Ren's chair hitting the wall. Ben looks at Ren, who was now standing up, his face filled with anger and resentment. Rehabilitation? You think I need fixing? To be trained like some dirty stray dog? Easy, kid, I didn't mean it like that. I don't give a damn in what you meant. Ben immediately goes silent as 𝙎𝙧 takes a step back out of fear. Ren begins to fill the room with his laughter, starting from a chuckle to a loud cackle. You're all the same, all you so-called heroes. All you do is spout your idealistic speeches about justice and righteousness, upholding the law. It's all bullshit. Every last syllable. All you care about is how good it makes you look, right? Taking in a lost stray and training it to do whatever you want, all for the sake of being able to say, look, I saved this one. What a joke. The reality is, you heroes don't give a SHT what happens to people like me. Rin, Ben said softly. 𝙎𝙧 watches Rin continue his rantings, as does Gwen and Kevin from the other side of the mirror. Let me tell you what I've learned all those years on that godforsaken planet. Ben, 10,000 heroes don't save people like me. I hate the way all of you look at me. Every last one of you. You say you want to help me, make me some kind of plumber agent, but in reality, you don't give a SHT about me. All you want is the glory to add on to your already inflated ego. You heroes all look at us the same way, like we're lower than the dirt we walk on. Like we're just walking piles of trash. Isn't that right? Rin said as he looked at the one-way mirror. I know the rest of you are there. You think you have any right to judge me? You all can go to hell. I did what I had to in order to survive, and I don't regret a damn thing about it. I'd like to see any of you do any better in my shoes. On the other side of the one-way mirror, Gwen's arms begin to shake as she attempts to hold herself to stop. Kevin puts his arm around her and pulls her in close. And you? Ren said as he looked at Ben. I remember listening to the stories of Ben 10,000, all of your achievements, all of your powers, all of your abilities for 6 long years. I held on to the false hope that you'd come to Vilgodon to help me, to save me from this city of darkness and despair. But you never came. Time and time again, I only set myself up for disappointment as I held on to that hope. On that day, I was taught that the only person that you can rely on is yourself. Heroes will only let you down in the end. If someone threatens to take your life, don't be afraid to take theirs. If someone wants to take your freedom, then take theirs. Rin finally finishes his ranting and proceeds to breathe, trying to catch his breath as sweat from his face drops onto his floor. But that's not true. At least, not for you, Ben replied. Huh. You said that if someone threatens to take your life, that you shouldn't be afraid to take theirs. You've got a long rep sheet, but murder isn't one of them. Rin looks at Ben with a surprised look. In your entire criminal history, the most serious charges were only acts of terrorisms. But the attacks never had any casualties. The only times there have been are when other gangs got involved, but even then, no one ever died. Ben takes a step closer to Ren. What are you doing? You're no killer, Ren. You're no villain. Ben continues his pace towards Ren, who tries to back away. Get away from me, Ren yelled. You're just a kid who's confused, forced to do things he didn't want to do because he wanted to survive. You wear this mask of bravado because it comforts you, because you're scared on the inside. Huh. You think I'm scared of you? I'm not scared of anything, Ren yelled. No, you're not scared of me, but there is something you're scared of. It's the reason why you keep insisting on us sending you to prison. Ben is finally within arm's reach of Ren. Ben grabs Ren's arms and pulls him towards himself, embracing him in a hug, much to Ren's surprise. You're scared of forgiveness. Ren's eyes widen as tears begin to form. Your whole life, you had to wear a mask of strength because that's what you thought you had to do. To never show any kind of vulnerability, to never show any form of attachment or love. You did things you regret, things that you're not proud of, but you did it because you wanted to live. Even if you never went as far as killing, you think you deserve to be punished for the life you led and that this was your opportunity to seek that punishment. Asmith watches the scene unfold quietly, looking at the still shocked Ren. I'm sorry I wasn't there when you needed me most. I'm sorry I couldn't save you from this planet. I'm sorry that I couldn't be your hero. But I'm here now and I do want to help you, Ren. I really do, but you have to learn to trust me, to let me help you. I know it's not easy, but I'll be here with you every step of the way. Ren's tears overflow onto Ben's shirt as he hugs Ben back tightly, trying so desperately to hold back his tears. Just for a minute, take off that mask. Show me the real Ren Zark. There is a moment of silence that is accompanied by anticipation. Then Ren begins to speak. I don't deserve this chance, this kindness, this warmth. It's wasted on someone like me, Ren said in between tears. I've done terrible things, Ben, things I still regret over today. Even when I try not to think about it, it just comes up unexpectedly. And then, Ren clenches Ben's shirt even tighter. I just don't know what to do. There's better people than me for this, isn't there? Perhaps, but I choose you, Ren Zark. To me, you're the perfect candidate for this opportunity. You're lost right now, but all you need is a little guidance, a nudge in the right direction. Then soon, you will become my successor, the next wielder of the Omnitrix. If you want to be punished, then your punishment will be to bear the Omnitrix and save everyone you can. For as long as you can stand and breath, you will save as many people as you can. So how about it, Ren? Do you want to become a hero? The hero you so desperately wished for all those years ago. Ren can no longer hold back his emotions and drops to his knees, crying his heart out with Ben placing his hand over Ren. His screams echo throughout the room. Gwen and Kevin watch Ren break down into tears, with Gwen even begins to tear up at the sight. Asmith watches Ren on his knees. He then looks at Ben, who looks back at him. Before Ben entered the room, what? Asmith yelled. You heard me right, I want Ren to be the next wielder of the Omnitrix. Ben explained. Are you crazy, Ben? Gwen shouted. I think you got hit a little too hard in the head, Tennyson. Kevin added. Look, hear me out for a bit. Ben exclaimed. No. I do not accept this decision, Ben Tennyson. I will not allow a criminal to rub his tainted hands all over my creation. He's just a teenager. Ben argued. That teenager led an assault against a plumber convoy and succeeded. Asmith rebutted. We let them succeed. It doesn't change the face that Ren led the assaults, regardless of the potential danger. All the more reason he would be more useful to the plumbers than whatever the hell is inside the null void these days. Ben, how can you guys not see what's happening here? If we treat him like a criminal, then he'll act like one. But if we can bring him over to our side, You can't be serious, he's not going to agree to that. Gwen yelled back. He's still developing and growing, teenagers are very impressionable. Even you can't argue that if he was on our side that he would be able to do more good for the galaxy. And if you're wrong about him? 𝙎𝙧𝙮 asked. If you're wrong about him, you'd be giving a criminal the ultimate device in the entire galaxy. Well, you were wrong about me, weren't you? Remember how you wanted to take the Omnitrix away from me because you didn't think I was worthy of it? That was different, you weren't a criminal when you received the Omnitrix. Plus, you had your grandfather Max to help guide and teach you. Exactly, what if we could be Ren's grandpa Max, someone to teach him right from wrong, train and support him? They all look at Ren. Silence and uncertainty filled the air as Ben took another step towards the glass. He's just a kid, putting on a brave front to protect himself. Growing up on a planet as rough as that probably conditioned him to find comfort in that. He's strong physically, but mentally. What do you plan to do? 𝙎𝙧𝙮 asked. Prove to you that he's worthy of this power. I'm going in. You coming? After all, this is my successor we're talking about. I'm sure you'd want to meet him, right? 𝙎𝙧𝙮 sighs and sits on Ben's shoulder. Why do I feel like I'm going to regret this? Ben chuckles and walks through the door and enters the room. Present, 𝙎𝙧𝙮 sighs once more and smiles. He looks at Ben and nods his head, to which Ben returns the gesture. 𝙎𝙧𝙮 drops down and approaches Ren's eyesight. Ren lifts his head up and looks at 𝙎𝙧𝙮. Now then, if you're done letting everything out, 𝙎𝙧𝙮 said as he held out his tiny hand. Let's start over, shall we? I am 𝙎𝙧𝙮, the smartest being in 3, presumably 5 galaxies. Creator of the Omnitrix and the first thinker. And you are? Ren wipes his tears away and grabs 𝙎𝙧𝙮's hand. He smiles as he replies. I'm Ren Zark, I guess I'm Ben 10,000's new successor now. It's nice to meet you, sir. 𝙎𝙧𝙮 smiles. I see. In that case, we should get you started on your training, shouldn't we? Yes, sir, I'll be in your care. Sorry about the shorty thing. Don't worry about it, kid. 𝙎𝙧𝙮 replied, chuckling. You have a long road ahead of you before you can call yourself a hero, Ren. I hope you're up to the challenge. Plus, yes, sir. Back in present day, with Izuku and Ren on the beach, after that, Ben started training me. But 𝙎𝙧𝙮 still didn't trust me with the Omnitrix, so it took a while before I actually managed to get the one on your wrist now. Looking back on it now, it all seems so funny. I was such a stubborn kid, but I'm glad that Ben chose me. Oh, sorry Izuku. I guess I just started rambling on and on, didn't I? I guess I'm getting older than I thought. Ren said as he turned to look at Izuku, who had tears streaming down his face. I didn't know your life was so hard, Izuku said, wiping his eyes clean of tears. You were all alone all that time. I know how it feels. I bet. I remember how timid and shy you were when I first met you. It was like you've never had a shred of confidence in your life. I bet I know why. Ren replied. Ren stands up and walks towards the shoreline of the beach. You know, when I first came to Earth, I thought it would be much different than my home planet. But I guess no matter where you go, if you're different, then you'll be treated as such. Even among your own kind. Izuku stands up as well. Izuku, you know why I'm seen as a vigilante, right? Because you engaged in hero work without a license, at least. That's how our society describes vigilantes. Right? But I don't just go willy-nilly into fights. I started being branded a vigilante because I saw people that needed help. I didn't think about it, I just knew that I had to save them. Nothing else mattered in the slightest. This mentality, it was something that needed to be beat into my head when Ben trained me. But that day, when I saw you rush in without a second more to even think, I saw the makings of a hero. Izuku listened silently as hope filled his chest, causing his back to straighten and stand tall. That's why when I saw what you did, I knew that there was no one else worthy of wielding the Omnitrix. To be my next successor. But sensei, you're so young, how come you need a successor already? Ren does not answer and merely turns around to face Izuku and smiles. A question for another day. One that I'll answer when the time is right, Ren replied as Izuku's Omnitrix beeped and flashed green. Looks like your Omnitrix is ready to go. But you've got about 20 minutes left before class starts up, right? Izuku looks on his phone and screams. Why, you're right. I gotta go home and get changed. You sure you can handle it? Studying and training at the same time. I don't want to burn you out, Izuku. I'll be fine, sensei, I promise. Izuku said as he grabbed his bag and ran up the stairs. I'll see you later, sensei. Don't forget your promise. Izuku yelled, waving. Rin smiles and waves back, watching Izuku disappear as he ran up the stairs. When he was out of sight, Rin puts his arm down inside. You can come out now, despite your size. Sneaking isn't really your thing, Rin said seemingly to himself. From the pile of rubble behind him, Azimuth emerges and stands on top of the trash. As attentive as ever, I see. Azimuth commented. How are you doing these days, Ren? Ren turns around and approached Azimuth, kneeling down to him and putting out his hand, to which Azimuth jumps on. Ren then stands up with Azimuth still in his hands. Been better than usual, Ren said, chuckling. I see you found a successor, yeah. And you didn't think it important to consult with me before making that decision. Is my Omnitrix after all. I would think I'm entitled to have a say in all this. Figured you were busy and I didn't want to bother you. But you don't have to worry, I have full confidence in Izuku. That kid, he's going to be something special. Something bigger than me, maybe even Ben. Ren began to explain to Azimuth about Izuku and how he inspired him to act during the sludge villain attack. Azimuth looks into Ren's eyes that widened with pride and excitement. Azimuth simply sighed and rubbed his head. This has always been a bad habit of yours, to rush off somewhere and do whatever you want without a second thought, no sense of self-preservation at all. At times it brought you trouble, more trouble than Ben would care to deal with, but Ben also knew that it's because of that habit that you've saved thousands if not millions of lives already. All right, Ren, if you believe so firmly in this boy, then I shall trust your decision. That's it. No arguments. No shouting. 2 times I was against this kind of decision and both times I have been proven wrong. The first was with Ben, the second with you. I can't be the smartest being in 5 galaxies if I don't learn from past mistakes and errors. 5 galaxies? Not presumably anymore. Ren asked jokingly. I settled that matter quite a while ago. It was rather easier than I had thought. Azimuth and Ren share a moment of silence before Azimuth speaks again. Still, Ren, to choose a successor at your age, you don't still blame yourself for what happened that day, do you? Ren looks down in shame, his hair covering his eyes. It was Ben's choice. There comes a time where the student must surpass their teacher. Ben did what he did because he believed that you were ready. You say that, but it doesn't just go away, you know. This feeling, Azimuth pats Ren's hair and smiles. Ren looks up at Azimuth in surprise. Even after all your accomplishments and the good you've done, you're still just a kid on the inside, aren't you? Shut up, Ren. I may have had my doubts in the beginning with you. Ben was the one that begged me to give you a chance to prove yourself, and you did more than prove yourself. I had the delight and honor of watching you grow and change yourself into a truly spectacular hero. From a simple delinquent on Vilgodon, to becoming the wielder of the Omnitrix, savior of the universe and the symbol of courage. If you ask me, the Omnitrix couldn't have landed in better hands. Remember that, Ren, because I won't say it again. Azimuth, I do have one condition for your decision, however it's nothing too grand, rather simple, truth be told. Fire away, Ren replied. With Izuku speeds through the streets, rushing to his house. Along the way, Izuku replays the words that Ren said to him on the beach. That's why when I saw what you did, I knew that there was no one else worthy of wielding the Omnitrix. To be my next successor, Sensei really believes in me. He really believes in me, Izuku said over and over to himself as he ran faster and faster. I have to make him proud, I can't let him down. I will definitely become a hero. Just you watch, Sensei. Izuku arrives at his apartment complex and rushes into his room. Izuku, is that you? Izuku's mother yelled. Oh, just need to get changed real quick. Izuku began to change out of his tracksuit and wiped the sweat off his body with a towel he packed. Then he changed into his school uniform and begins to run out of the door. I'm off to school now. Take care. Izuku runs out the door, closing the door behind him. Now then, Izuku looks around to make sure no one is looking. He then turns on the Omnitrix and turns into an alien. Gotta run. Izuku said before rushing off, leaving behind him a gust of wind. Gotta run. Izuku said before rushing off, leaving behind him a gust of wind. Also on the way to school, Katsuki Bakugo and his two minions were making their way to school as well. They continue to chat about you and the latest movies and games. Katsuki, however, seems to be uninterested as he continues to walk in front of them. To their surprise, a blue blur rushes past them as a gust of wind pushes them to the wall, stumbling all of them. What the hell was that? One of Katsuki's friends yelled. I don't know. I didn't see it. Katsuki just looks at the direction the blue blur headed towards, realizing that the trail of dust leads into his school gate. What the F? Katsuki said to himself. What's up, Bakugo? That thing that just passed us. It went into our school. Seriously. Maybe it's one of our students. I'd know if someone with a quirk like that attended our school, fuckwit. Katsuki shouted. I'm going to find out who that was right now. Katsuki said as he ran towards his school. Hey, wait up. The two lackeys yelled. There's no way someone from this sorry school has a quirk like that. There's no way. I couldn't even see who it was. Who the hell do you think you are, UF? I'm the only one in this school who should have an amazing quirk. No one else. In the school, Izuku in alien form quickly rushes into the gym locker room. And just in the nick, Izuku said before his Omnitrix started beeping and flashing red, changing him back into his human form. Time. Now I just have to get to class. As Izuku reaches for the door, he notices that his sleeve slipped up, revealing his Omnitrix. He then pulls his left sleeve down so that his sleeve hid the Omnitrix. As he does, he remembers some advice from Ren regarding the Omnitrix. 2 weeks after Izuku received the Omnitrix, I can't tell anyone about the Omnitrix. Izuku shouted. Not so dotn, loud kid. Ren replied. Izuku quickly covered his mouth in response. But sensei, why can't I? Look, it's not like you can't tell them. It's on your wrist. People are going to ask about it sooner or later. But the truth is, the people of Earth aren't ready for the truth yet. That they're not alone in the universe. If they find out about the truth about the Omnitrix and that it lets you change into alien life forms, who knows what may happen? The heroes might even try to capture you to take it away from you. Not like they could though. So, what do I say? That's up to you. You'll have to make something up until I say otherwise. But can't I at least tell my mom? Wouldn't that just make her worry even more? Based on what you've told me about her and how you tend to act, I'm willing to bet your mom is the same way, Oh, that's a fair point actually. But, Ren remains silent for a moment, then scratches his head. Only tell people you genuinely trust about the truth of the Omnitrix. How about that? As in people you know won't betray you. The Omnitrix isn't a toy, Izuku. You can't just go around showing it off to people. So for now, hide the truth about it, or whoever you choose to tell about the Omnitrix, I'll trust you. Back in present day, luckily, no one has noticed the Omnitrix yet. But it won't be that way forever. I need to think of something to say if I get asked about it. Maybe I can just play it off as a support item that lets me activate my quirk. But everyone knows I'm quirkless. Would they even believe that? Izuku thought to himself as he walked out of the changing room. As Izuku stepped out of the room, Katsuki bumps into him and knocks him down. Izuku groans and rubs his head. Watch where you're going, Katsuki yelled. Kaken. Sorry, I was just. Katsuki releases an explosion in both of his hands, glaring at Izuku with anger. Do that again and I'll make sure you're toast. Now get out of the way. Katsuki said as he ran past Izuku. Izuku gets up but is shoved by the shoulder of the passing lackeys. Izuku picks himself up once more and rubs his shoulder in pain. In time, you'll become more confident in yourself as the training continues. When you learn to believe in yourself, anything becomes possible, Izuku. Remember that. Ren's words said in Izuku's mind. Izuku then grips his Omnitrix, which helps him calm down. He begins to take deep breaths and walk to his class with a smile on his face. One day, Kaken, one day I'll show you that I can become a hero. Izuku enters the classroom quietly and sits down, not making eye contact with anyone before taking out his books. Hey, did you hear some of the students gossiped. I heard Bakugo's running around the school like a madman. Seriously? What for? Dunno, probably best not to ask anyway. He'll probably just tell us to FOFF and then ignore us if we try to push it any further. Apparently him and his lackeys saw someone with an amazing speed quirk headed in here. For real? Yeah. One of Bakugo's lackeys said that the guy was too fast to even see. All they saw was a blur go by them. No way. That guy sounds awesome. There's someone at our school with that awesome quirk. Izuku sweats profusely and nervously as he listens in on the conversations around him. He lowers his sleeve even further down on his Omnitrix. Then, the homeroom teacher enters and everyone does their daily routine and bows to the teachers. Just as everyone began to sit back down, Katsuki and his lackeys enter the classroom. The teacher merely sighs and continues on with the announcements. Class from then on goes on regularly, with the lessons mainly being review of previous materials. Katsuki doesn't pay attention and continues to look out the window with his head resting on his palm while Izuku continues to take notes on his own alien forms. 4 arms. The Tetraman from the planet Koros. Superhuman strength and durability. Superhuman strength and durability. 4 arms is very durable in terms of pure raw enhanced strength and reflexes, being able to lift several times his own weight and punch through various resilient materials with ease. 4 arms strength allows him to use anything heavy as a weapon, from big rocks he can throw several feet away, to beams and pillars that can be used as clubs. 4 arms can jump several times his own height, at least 7 stories up, in a single bound. Easily one of my heaviest hitters I have right now. However, he still feel pain from things like electrical shocks and can be restricted when enclosed in a small space. I have to keep this in mind when using him. This is the form that is the closest to All Might, but he's a bit weaker than All Might. Izuku turns to the next page. XR8, a Kinoceleran from the planet Kinet. Using the orbs on his feet, XR8 can reach running speeds of 500 miles per hour within 2 seconds. Using the orbs on his feet, XR8 can reach running speeds of 500 miles per hour within 2 seconds. He can accelerate so quickly that time appears to completely stop to him, allowing him to change the positions of things around him mid-motion. XR8 is fast enough to run up walls and run on water, even being capable of creating tornadoes by generating a centripetal vacuum. XR8's biggest weakness is magnets and charged pulses, as they can completely throw him off course, along with surfaces that offer no traction like ice or mud. Izuku finishes writing and turns to the next page. Heat Blast, a pyronite from the star Pyros. Heat Blast is a pyrokinetic, meaning he has the ability to generate and manipulate intense heat and fire from his body. He can form fire into any shape that he chooses, commonly fireballs. He can also enhance the fire in his hands for flaming punches and can breathe fire like a dragon. To top it all off, he can even absorb heat and fire from external sources, allowing him to put out flames in short amounts of time. Heat Blast can also make his flames explosive, which explains why his fire tended to cause explosions on a regular basis. On that note, he can even create fire fuses with the snap of his fingers. He can even create a fire bomb if the situation calls for it. Biggest notable weaknesses: water. Other weaknesses: any other fire-extinguishing substance. Despite being made of fire, he can still be immobilized by ice. Izuku sighs and reviews what he's written so far, sketching in the forms in his notebook as he does. These are the only 3 aliens I've gotten to train with so far. There's still 7 more forms I haven't even got to use, yet there's only 9 months left before the exams. Will I really be able to use all 10 forms before then? How does Sensei do it so effortlessly? Managing over 10,000 aliens at once, Izuku mutters quietly while tapping his foot. Midoriya! The teacher yelled. Izuku immediately perks up in surprise to see everyone staring at him. If you don't mind ceasing your muttering, I'd like to get on with the review without further interruptions, please. I'm so sorry. Izuku yelled out. The teacher turns around and continues the lesson. Everyone whispers about Izuku much to his embarrassment. He lifts up his sleeve a bit and grips the Omnitrix again, which calms him down a bit. Katsuki looks over at Izuku, who notices his action. He tries to look closer at what Izuku is gripping but fails to see. He scoffs and looks back out the window. The eventually ends with the school bell signifying the students to head home. Izuku continues to stay behind in the class, writing down the notes from the previous classes, making sure to study them for the exams. Before he knew it, it was already well into the evening with the sun setting. Oh no! When did it get so late? I have to get home quick, Izuku said as he quickly packed his things. Okay, so I'll do a bit of studying when I get back home, then maybe some late-night training. Oh, but I can't stay too late though. I still have training with Sensei in the morning. Maybe only for 2 or 3 hours then. Oh, but that would only leave me with 4 hours of sleep. How strange. Despite being such a primitive species, you take your studies and training rather seriously. A strange voice said. Plus Izuku perked up immediately to his desk. There, Azimuth stood with his hands behind his back, staring at Izuku. You're very diligent, Izuku Midoriya. I can tell you are taking this matter of the Omnitrix very seriously. You're certainly better than Ren when he was your age. I can't tell you how many times he snuck out when it was time for a plumber's written test. Izuku remains silent for a moment, then screams. A talking frog. A talking frog. Izuku yelled out in surprise. I am not a talking frog. Azimuth said adamantly. I am Azimuth of the Galvan, smartest being in 5 galaxies, the first thinker and creator of the Omnitrix. Izuku stares blankly before his eyes widen with shock as to what he had just referred Azimuth to. He begins to bow furiously as he apologizes. Oh my god, I'm so sorry for what I said, please forgive me, I didn't mean any disrespect, I hope you can forgive me. It's quite alright, Izuku Midoriya. You can stop bowing now. Please. Izuku slowly stands up straight and looks at Azimuth, who had a smile on his face. So, what did you need from me? Sir, Mr. Azimuth, sir. Just a chat. I'd like to get to know the next successor of my Omnitrix after all. Azimuth gestures to Izuku's desk chair. So, Izuku quickly takes a seat and becomes stiff as a board, sitting with his back straight and his hands folded on his lap. So, Izuku Midoriya, tell me, what do you want to be? Izuku stares at Azimuth for a few seconds, confused by the question. I'm sorry, I don't think I understand the question. It's a simple question, what do you want? I want to be a hero like All Might and Sensei, someone who can put people at ease while saving everyone. That's the kind of hero I always wanted to be. Izuku remains silent once more. Azimuth looks towards the windows to Izuku's left, watching as the sun sets. I see Ren has told me quite a bit about you. You were born, how you people say, quirkless. Izuku's heart stopped a bit as that word struck a nerve inside him, one that reopened some scars and wounds. These quirks, as humans call it is nothing more than an evolutionary DNA mutation. A sleight of chance that the perfect combinations of genes and environment led to the reconstruction of the entire human species. Despite this revolutionary achievement in human evolution, you humans still find a way to divide yourself amongst yourselves. You all can't see that with this next step of evolution must bring great change with it. This case of having a quirk or being quirkless, nothing more than a trivial matter, a fog that obscures all other possible futures. Even as I observed your world, most of you become so-called heroes, simply because it grants you unrestricted access to use your quirks without any kind of opposition. If there was ever a more shallow reason, it would be for fame and money. That's not true at all. One of my greatest heroes, All Might, is righteous and heroic in every way possible. Surely he's not anything like that. He's helped a lot of people, and because of him, crime rates have been down at a record-breaking low. Yes, All Might, the one you call the symbol of peace. Even I must admit, the deeds he has accomplished for Earth has been nothing but brave and admirable. However, even he is part of the problem in this society of heroes. What? All Might has built an image up in order to deter crime and criminals from committing any heinous acts, an admirable effort. This symbol of peace, as people say, it is only temporary. The only problem with symbols such as him are that he teaches everyone on Earth that they can rely on him, that as long as he is alive that they have nothing to fear, that they're safe. He acts as nothing more than a safety net in society. But what's wrong with feeling safe? If All Might is able to put those scared people at ease, then what's so bad about that? It isn't feeling safe that's the problem, it's getting too comfortable in that feeling. Izuku's eyes widened with realization as he continued to listen intently. All Might, for everything he and his supporters claim him to be, he cannot be everywhere at once. All Might's symbol of peace acts as a barricade between order and total chaos. But tell me, Izuku Midoriya, has there ever been a barricade that has withstood the test of time? 𝙎𝙧𝙮 turns to face Izuku. Humans think that All Might will be there to protect them forever, that he is immortal and nothing bad could possibly happen to him. You should know that this is not the case. A symbol of peace, though I cannot deny the good All Might has done, will inevitably crumble and be blown into the wind, nothing more than dust. Worlds that harbor sentient life will always be destined to descend into greater chaos, no matter how young or old the star may be. To deny such a notion is to deny life itself. Izuku looks down with his hair covering his eyes. There is a short pause before Izuku finally responds. 𝙎𝙧𝙮, sir. 𝙎𝙧𝙮 looks up at Izuku, who was now making eye contact with him. I see your point. Your words have some truth in them, but please do not undermine everything All Might has done as pointless. Izuku makes a fist with both hands as tears began to form in his eyes. All Might is an amazing hero. The greatest hero we have. I understand that we cannot rely on him forever, but that doesn't mean that everything he's doing now is pointless. He gives us strength to go on with our lives in peace because he protects that peace. It's because of him that we were able to have order and stability in our lives. It's because of him that so many others can live to see another day. It's because of him that I wanted to, Izuku said before he stops himself. He then remembers the words that All Might had said to him that day on the rooftop. I'm sorry, young man, but no. Without a quirk, I just don't think it's possible for you to become a hero. Izuku then looks down as his fists release their grip. Even though you speak so highly of him, even he has denied you of your goal, has he not? Izuku remains silent, biting his lip in frustration and sadness. Ren told me about what All Might said to you, as well as the events that transpired before he chose you. Although you bear the Omnitrix now, I'm certain that at the time, those words must have at least hurt you. It's because of him that I wanted to be a hero in the first place, even though he told me that I couldn't become one. I'm sure it wasn't out of malice. Izuku then holds the Omnitrix up and gazes at its shining dial. I'm sure that he just didn't want me to get hurt, knowing that I was quirkless, but even with all that, I think that day when I met Sensei again for the second time, my body moved on its own, not just because I wanted to save my friend, but because I wanted to be like All Might. So in a way, I owe my meeting of Sensei to All Might as well. I may not have been able to achieve my dream had I never met Sensei and he never offered me this blessing. So please, don't defame his character. All Might is a true hero. I believe that deep down in the bottom of my heart. All Might gave me the courage to act. Sensei gave me the chance to become a true hero. I owe both of them everything in a sense. 𝙎𝙧𝙮 looks up and chuckles pleasingly. Ren was right after all. You are quite interesting, Izuku Midoriya. I apologize for my choice of words. I did not mean to offend you or your hero in any way. But understand that I had to provoke you in some way. I just did not think it would be that easy. Provoke me. But why? Emotions are one of the few things that humans have over other species. When it comes to feelings and such, there is no other race out there that feels deeper emotional depths than humans. You all are capable of such a kind, caring, and a warm nature. But it is because you feel deeper emotion that you are often tempted by anger, hatred, and cruelty. Emotions often reveal one's true characters, no matter how much one may try to hide it. That layer of protection and comfort they built around them will crumble before the weight of emotions. 𝙎𝙧𝙮 walks across Izuku's desk to look at the sunset once more. When you got enraged by my words of All Might, you chose to defend him. Despite how he hurt you. I was just... Do not get me wrong, Izuku, I meant every word I had said, with the best intentions at heart, of course. All I was saying was that a symbol of peace can only inspire stagnation. A world ever unchanging and ever static. 𝙎𝙧𝙮 motions for Izuku to come closer, which Izuku does, resting his arms on his desk. 𝙎𝙧𝙮 touches Izuku's Omnitrix and stares at it for a long period of time. You are humble, kind, and endearing. All noble qualities of a hero. But bearing the Omnitrix is a greater responsibility than anything you have ever experienced before. I'm sure Ren has told you correct. That wearing this will make you represent unity above all else, in every part of the galaxy. Why yes, Izuku Midoriya, a symbol is something that inspires one to act. To change things, whether for the better or for worse. It is your duty as the next wielder of the Omnitrix to become a symbol that can inspire change and action. These are the catalysts for a better world. Take the first wielder of the Omnitrix for example. Ben 10,000. Yes, Ben had received the Omnitrix when he was only 10 years old. It was originally intended for his grandfather, the greatest plumber in the galaxy at the time, but Ben had found it before he did. At first, I thought to take it back from him, as I thought he was too immature to wield such a device. But as Ben grew, his sense of responsibility and action had proven me wrong. By the time he was in his 20s, he was already considered the symbol of justice throughout the cosmos. He inspired thousands of different people from different planets to join the plumbers, and their numbers increased from thousands to millions. Due to those increasing numbers, crime within the galaxy has diminished by about 45%. Amazing, the symbol of justice. Then came along Ren, a mere delinquent from Vilgadon. Ben saw potential in him and chose to take him in, to guide him as his family and friends did. Like I did with Ben, I had my reservations about Ren. But in the same age span as Ben was, Ren soon became known as the symbol of courage for his peerless ferocity in the face of danger before he even turned 21. He saved countless people on dozens of different planets, leading rebellions to overthrow fascists and dictators from their tyranny, inspiring them that they had the power to take control of their own lives. He's even fought an entire legion of 5,000 soldiers all on his own to free a planet from an invasion. Displaying this kind of power and courage, he inspired an entire planet to act and change for the better. Sensei never told me about that, so amazing. Now, the question is Izuku Midoriya, what do you wish to represent? Izuku stares at 𝙎𝙧𝙮, deep in thought of this question. Ben was the symbol of justice, Ren was the symbol of courage. As the destined next wielder of the Omnitrix, you must become a symbol of your own making. One that leads, one that ensures change, one that inspires to act. So, what will you become, Izuku Midoriya? Izuku looks down at his Omnitrix, which was glowing green and gleaming in the sunlight. As he looks up at 𝙎𝙧𝙮, he was gone. Not a trace to be left behind. Izuku looks around for 𝙎𝙧𝙮, but gives up quickly. Again he looks down on his wrist. A symbol that inspires, Izuku said to himself. With Arn, Ren was at Chef's noodle stand, slurping up the deliciousness that was the new spicy beef ramen flavor that Chef was promoting. So, what do you think? Packs a punch, doesn't it? Chef said proudly. Ren then picks up the bowl and begins to drink the broth. Then, he slams the bowl down onto the counter and burps loudly. Oh man, it sure does, Chef. I thought I was gonna breathe fire there for a minute. This ramen is awesome. I'm sure it'll sell well. Glad to hear it. Hey, I got an idea. What if you made this even spicier, then turn it into a challenge? A challenge? Interesting, go on. It could be called something like the Fireball Challenge. Extra spicy, extra beef, extra everything. If they beat it in 10 minutes, then the meal is free. But if they can't, then they pay for the bowl, double the normal amount. Not a bad idea, kid, I'll think about it. Chef then looks at the time on his watch. Oh man, it's gotten late. Sorry, Ren, but I gotta start closing up. No worries, Chef, need a hand at all? Nah, I'll be fine. Business has been better than usual lately because of your reactions to my food, so I'm in an energetic mood. See you tomorrow. You know it, Chef. Take care. Ren slides off the chair and waves goodbye to Chef as he walks away. As he walks down the street, he hears a humming sound from his left shoulder. A quick bright flash appears and he smiles. Well, how was your talk? Ren said. He's certainly interesting. That is Izuku Midoriya. 𝙎𝙧𝙮 replied. Told you he was. He's certainly a lot more humble than you were at that age. but I'm afraid he may be too humble in his nature. Don't worry, by the time I'm done training him, he'll be as confident as that All Might guy. Can you say that for sure? If you're the one asking Azimuth, then the possibilities are endless, aren't they? Wouldn't you rather leave it to a game of chance for once? Chance is for those who lack insight. I like to think of it as life on a randomizer function. Plus, you haven't changed a bit. Would you still acknowledge me if I was any other way? Azimuth chuckles as he walks with Ren into the sunset.